And take two. Hello everyone and welcome into our latest live video. Today it's Friday. It's the 21st of August 2026. My name is Carey Holzman and I am a professional computer technician. I got my first job as a computer technician in 1991 and still doing it to this very day. And I'm here to share my experiences with you. Not to tell you how to do anything, showing you how I do things. That's it. And today we have a computer that was sent in. It's pretty unusual for a computer to be sent in that's only 6 months old. We built this on the channel, I think, in January. And it was an upgrade for this customer who had bought from us prior, who lives out of state and had that computer for about, well, long past when it should have been upgraded, probably 8 or 9 years. So today, that computer has come back, the upgrade that we did back in January, due to a problem the customer has admittedly done himself. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I tried to help the customer over the phone, and the customer's not that tech savvy, and got into areas they're not familiar with, and I thought maybe over the phone we could fix it. The customer does not know how to really send text messages or take pictures, so I literally am blind trying to help the customer because they can't really describe to me what they're seeing because they don't know how to explain it. They're not sure what it is themselves. They can't take a picture of it and send it to me because they don't know how. And I asked them if they had a remote KVM, and they said, oh yeah, I bought one of those when you did a video on it. Let me see if I can find it. And I'm not sure why he bought it. He doesn't seem like he'd have any use for it, but we didn't really discuss it. And he ends up finding it, but he doesn't have any of the cables for it. I said, okay, it came with cables. We need 2 cables. We need a USB cable, and we need an HDMI cable. Doesn't have them in the box. So he got them, he just doesn't know where he put them. He didn't put everything back. Long story short, I said, go ahead and ship the computer back to me. Go ahead and ship your KVM to me. And then I can pre-configure the KVM and include the missing cables, and I'll just, charge you for the cables that you're missing, and we'll get it updated. And in case we ever need it again, which we've never needed it in 10 years, even if he had it 10 years ago, the one time we needed it, he didn't even have it all together. And I'm not even sure that would have helped us anyway. I mean, based on the symptom here, I thought we'd go through this together and see if we can't figure it out. The story is that he wanted to make a backup of his system. Everything's running fine. And he, I guess instead of following my recommendations, went ahead and downloaded Macrium, which I don't use. The only time I've ever used it is when, Doug Betts was here. And the problem is, I'm not familiar with it. And if it was Acronis, that'd be a different story. So the story I was told, and I haven't confirmed anything, and I want to make sure I'm even understanding it correctly, is he used Macrium. Where he got that information from or whose advice from, I don't know, but my feeling is like if you got information from somebody that led you down a path that ended in a dead end and now you're stuck, if it were me, I'd be going back to the person responsible, right? On the other hand, it's very flattering that they came to me instead, because obviously wherever they got that information from, they don't want to go back to that source ever again, would be at least what I'm assuming is the logic here. And I hate the idea of sending a computer in the mail for something that could be just a button press. So we did try over the phone for about an hour, 90 minutes trying to figure it out, and just couldn't make any progress. And he said, I don't mind mailing it, and I've got a second computer, so I'll just use that, and it's fine, no problems. Okay, I mean, if you don't mind boxing it and taking it to the FedEx store and paying for the shipping, and then I don't mind doing the work and boxing it and taking it back to FedEx. That's just part of my everyday job. And here it is. That's how we got it. Okay, so that's pretty much what I know now. So he downloaded Macrium. He made an image. And then for some reason, he wanted to recover the image to see if it works. That's not how we do image verification or backup verification, you don't actually restore the backup. There's usually an option in the backup software to verify the backup while you're in Windows. So he went into the BIOS and he changed his boot order. We don't do that either. We don't do that. And ever since then, his computer won't boot. It says there's nothing to boot. It just goes right into the BIOS like there's no drive installed. If you go into the BIOS, you can see the drive is in there. It's a VANISHING 2 terabyte, but under boot options, there's nothing to boot from. That typically means he's either erased his drive or he's removed the UEFI partition off of it or the boot sectors off of it. I don't know. All of this is speculation based on the information that I've been told, and I don't know the accuracy of the information. So today, I thought this will be a fun video. It's nothing serious. It's not like the world's on fire. We'll take a look at it. He mentioned he has to bang on the side of the computer to get the CD drawer or the DVD drawer to open. We'll verify that, because if that's the case, these are easy to swap out. Nobody buys them anymore, so I have a few spares sitting around here. Just replace it. But we need to confirm all of the customer symptoms, right? While we were on the phone, I had him reset the BIOS back to defaults, and it didn't make a difference. So, you know, I was trying to guide him through the BIOS and ask him to read me what's on the screen, and it's a very slow and painful way to get any work done. Really wish he would have had the cables he needed for the KVM, at least to expedite where the call eventually got to, which is, of course, to box it up and send it in. I'm glad that he did so really quickly. Sometimes customers can wait a while, and then you just never know when it's going to show up. And Murphy's Law says it'll show up at the worst possible time. So thankfully that didn't happen. He got right on it. It showed up yesterday. And the show we were planning for today, which was a new mini Swarm PC, we're going to go ahead and do that on Sunday, because I think this is more unique content that we don't cover often enough. We do a lot of mini PCs, and nothing wrong with that. But me personally, I just need a little variety to break up the monotony of that, and then we'll just go ahead and get back to the regular schedule on Sunday for that mini PC from Mini Swarm, which is sort of a budget AI processing computer. Yeah, I'm excited to look at it, don't get me wrong. I'm just a little bit more excited to look at this, because I have no idea what's going on here. But the first thing we need to do is verify what's wrong. And before we do that, I want to say thank you to our friend Buster, Peter Laycock, who joins us from Edinburgh, Scotland, each and every show. And each and every show, he contributes an Amazon gift card to show his support. And I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Buster. We hope you're doing well, my friend. I also want to shout out our friends at VIP-URCDKEYs. One of the things this customer has asked me for 2 or 3 times, when he got the computer, a couple months after he had the computer, and then most recently when he resent me the computer, he keeps asking me the same question. He said, "Where's my Windows 11 key?" And I've told him twice, now 3 times, which is starting to, I really have to. He's older, and I guess he's forgetting, or he's not, I don't know. I said, the product keys don't work like they used to work anymore. The digital entitlement that Microsoft now utilizes means when you put a Windows 11 key in your Windows 11 computer, it's tattooed onto the motherboard, for lack of a better word. You don't ever have to enter it ever again. It happens auto-magically until you change the motherboard out, or unless you try to reuse that key and reassign it, which you should not be able to do. This isn't the old days anymore. We don't need those product keys anymore. Once you've used it one time, you're good for that motherboard until you replace the computer or you replace the motherboard. At that point, you would buy a new key. Once you put that new key in, you never ever have to enter it again for the life of that computer or motherboard. So I'm trying to find another way to say it where it's a little bit more memorable. But I mean, I suppose I could also just go in the registry and pull the key out just to give him something that he'll never use, and maybe he'll finally have his key and he'll be happy. But the key can't be used ever again. It's a one-time use. It's done. And where you get those keys is, where I get them anyways, VIP-URCD keys. And they support us here, although this is not a commission-based link. So if you want to buy it or you don't want to buy, that's on you. I don't make any more or less money. I want to be clear about what my motivation is. My motivation is for me to find my customers, my real world living customers that I make a living from, who count on me and rely on me to provide them with fast quality service at a good price, to do it right the first time, and for me to be competitively priced. And I was paying way too much for my Windows and Office keys for my customers. And my customers started buying keys from shady sites online and then calling me when they had problems. So I said, I got to fix this. And I bought a lot of keys and got burned by every single key seller without any exception, except when I found the parent company to VIP-URCD keys, who we've been working with now for about 3 or 4 years. They're the only ones I found online. That doesn't mean they're the only ones online. They're the only ones I found that sell real, legitimate license keys and support them. That's two entirely different things that are pretty rare on the internet. One is they're legitimate, and two is they stand behind the sale. They don't just ignore you after the sale. And they'll do that for up to 6 months, not just immediately after the sale, but it could be 6 or 8 weeks or 12 weeks after the sale, 16 weeks, 20 weeks. Obviously, there's a limit to how long they can do that. But the fact of the matter is they have a live chat, and they're there to help you. The reason they can do that is they sell a quality, legitimate product, so it's very rare anybody needs to contact them. The companies that you really need to reach out to are often the ones selling the illegitimate products that really don't answer their support. And they're the ones that need the support the most, right? So go figure. The way you can buy these keys, if you're interested, is if you look at any of my past videos, like including this one, but if we'll go back in time and we'll take a look at this video here, and underneath the title and underneath my name on the left side, that first box, it says more, and I click on it. And then that opens up all of the video links for everything we talk about in the video, the products, software, including the links for the Windows and Office keys that I use for my business, for my customers. In fact, it's not only the same link, it's the same way I buy it. So the first thing I do, I click on the link. You could just go to VIP-URCDKey yourself and just search for it, but this is way faster to just click the link. It takes you right there. I put in my name and password for my login account, but if you don't have one, it's free to make one. It's required because they need to be able to send you your key and receipt of purchase and order number securely. You see this item in the cart? I put my name Carey, I actually do, under the promotion code, and the price drops by 25%. That is the same way I buy my keys, the same price I pay and the same process. I'm just sharing it with you. Once you submit your order, choose how you want to pay. Once you've selected the payment method that you want, hit the Pay Now button, and whatever screens are required to be filled out for that payment method are no different than they are in any other e-commerce website. It's the same process. Within about 2 minutes of completing your order, you're going to get an email. It doesn't matter if it's day or night, weekend or holiday. 365 days a year. Within about 2 minutes, you're going to get an email confirming your purchase. There'll also be a download link from Microsoft to the product you purchase. However, I don't use those. I have my own that I've downloaded from Microsoft, but of course I do. I use them all the time. This may be something you do once every 8 years. So if you need it, it's there. And then, of course, your activation key. Now, Microsoft Office activation keys work differently than Windows activation keys. Well, Windows activation key is tattooed onto the motherboard, for lack of a better explanation. Microsoft keys are not. So if you have a Microsoft account and you can tie that key to your account, that's one solution. You could, after you install and activate, make an image backup of your computer so you never have to reinstall it again. If there is a time where you need to reinstall it, you may have to purchase a new key if it's been more than 6 months. And that's just how it works. If it makes you feel any better, you have to buy 10 Microsoft Office keys to equal the cost of one Office key from Microsoft. Now, the one from Microsoft will let you reinstall it and reuse the key a certain number of times. I don't know what that limit is, but you'd have to use it about 10 times just to break even. Or you could just make a backup for free, right? So it's on you. And if you have any problems in the first 6 months, of course, they'll help you. Why people would be formatting and reinstalling their operating system in 2026 suggests to me that they aren't keeping up with the technology and they're holding on to old, outdated knowledge that's actually harming them. Unless you have a significant virus infection and you want to be sure it's gone, or you have a failed hard drive, other than that, you can run the same version of Windows with no wiping and reinstalling for the entire life of that computer. There's no reason other than what I mentioned to wipe and reinstall that I can think of. It's sort of a lazy man's way to fix things. And it's dangerous because it can lead you down a path of expense with other software that needs to be reactivated, like Quicken, QuickBooks, stuff like that. They won't tolerate that. It looks like you're being a pirate. So you do you. I'm not telling you how to do it. But the idea of having to reinstall an operating system to fix problems, that went away back around 2020. Just so you know, in case you don't already, if you're still doing that, you have been left behind. You have voluntarily allowed or refused to accept the modern solutions to those problems. That's your choice. I get paid by the hour. If I can get in and get out quickly, customers like that, and then I can help the next customer that much sooner. They don't have to keep waiting. If my solution is to swing a hammer at everything and just, reset it, I'm not going to get any work done that could be profitable. I would have to close my business. You as a home user, all you had to do is make a backup when everything was running and then just restore the backup, which is the same as a reinstall, but about 800 times faster and more reliable. So you do you, okay? I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just telling you how I do it. And I am so glad that I don't have to wipe and reinstall anymore. It's a pretty rare thing. It still can be required, but maybe out of 100 computers I look at, one needs a reinstall. Even if that, it's probably less than one. Statistically, it's so unusual. And the most common reason we do that would be essentially either a virus or a failed drive, but 100% the customer has no backup, no image backup. If we had an image backup, we would just restore it and we'd be in and out in about 4 minutes. All done, drivers, updates, all the way up to the date the backup was made, customer data, activations. Unless the hardware, the motherboard changes and then the activations don't work anymore, because that looks like, again, that's what piracy looks like. That's what piracy is. It's another way of installing the software on a different machine that it wasn't licensed for. It's no different than taking the license plate off of your car and moving it onto a different car and not telling anybody. It is completely against the law. The enforcement of it, however, is very different. So just because you haven't been caught doesn't make it right. And it doesn't mean you got away with anything. Sometimes you get away with it for a little while, but it'll catch up to you. And if you don't mind, I don't mind. But if you just do it right out of the gate, you'll never have that problem. You don't have to keep looking over your shoulder. So again, just know what to expect based on the choices you make. Let's see, what else can I tell you? If we turn this around, you can get a look at the inside, nice and clean in there. And you might remember us building this back in January. Let me grab my glasses and say hello to everybody. And well, first, let's just see what this thing does. Let's do that first, and then I'll say hello to everybody. So I'm going to turn the power supply on. And we've got our keyboard and mouse here and plugged in. And I'm going to go over to HDMI number 3 here. We'll minimize camera 1. Down here, and then hit the power button. Okay. The CPU fan and the rear case fan are spinning as they're supposed to. And at this point, we should see the system start booting, and instead we're getting a BIOS. Now, one of the things I notice is the BIOS version, which is right up here. Is the mouse gonna work? Probably if I turn it on first, huh? BIOS version is 8.01. I looked on this, I hooked this up last night, and I really wanted to do some work on it last night, but I held back and saved it for you guys, okay? I really wanted to dig into this, but I thought I want to share this with my friends. I want us to enjoy this and go through this process together. So 902, I believe, is the latest, and I went ahead and downloaded it, and I put it on a flash drive. Okay, so that's good to go. We're ready to flash. And then, of course, just taking the panel off and then plugging everything in. That's the extent of the work I did last night, just for full disclosure. If we use the arrow keys and we go over to the boot section here, let's see. Oh, I got to go to advanced, which I think is F6, and we go all the way over to boot. You'll see that boot option priorities, there's nothing to choose from. My thought was maybe, let's get rid of camera one, maybe compatibility support mode had been turned on, but no, it's disabled like it should be. And then I thought, well, maybe secure boot is turned on, so we disabled that. And it was a little hard to find it because I couldn't see the screen, and I don't have a same board here for me to go step by step with him, and he couldn't take pictures and send it to me because he doesn't know how. So it's getting very frustrating, I think, for both of us. But it is what it is. I mean, that's just part of the challenge of why I was not able to fix it over the phone. What's interesting, though, what I thought was interesting is I asked him to go over to where it says here NVMe configuration, and it absolutely sees the phasing drive. I mean, it's there. But when we go over to the boot section, it should be, you see at the very top it says boot option priorities. Anything bootable should be listed underneath that, and there's nothing that should be between boot option priorities and fast boot. And of course we want fast boot turned off. So that's where we're at. Let me get over to the chat room and say hello to everybody. Hope you're having a great Friday. Why do I have these glasses? I need these glasses. There we go. It's Friday. What can you do? All right. Step right up. Montana is joining us along with Gary Tatum and Dustin Fuller. I also see Mark Gaines and Luke Greenia, Sean Skinner, and David Graham. Bike Man says hello along with David Herzog. There's Marlena, our channel administrator, saying hello and hanging out in the chat room with everybody. Jim Kenny says hello, along with Michael Lavelle. Mark Gaines, Ben Laird, Jonathan Fells. Our friend Buster says hello to everyone. It's 54 degrees Fahrenheit or 12.12 degrees Celsius in Edinburgh, Scotland right now, where it's probably around 8:30 or 9:30 at night, I think, over there. Maybe even 10:30. Barry Klein said it's an absolutely beautiful day. 80 degrees Fahrenheit where he's at. What am I doing indoors? Yeah, sounds like a nice day. Andrew C. 2026 says hello. Let's see. I might repeat some names here because I'm getting myself distracted. 3D Everything says hello. Andy W6AD joins us. Eddie Casanova says hello. Buster said he was up all night, so he's not going to stay too long, but he'll catch up with the show later. That's fair enough, Buster. We want you to get your rest, and we appreciate you staying up long enough to at least say hello. Keo069 and Rick Lakes are joining us as well. Alan with a Y also says hello. Xander Vanderhoven joins us in our chat room. Patrick Manny and Bill Holmes saying hello and happy Friday. Jose Lopez and Elijah52 Dickens are joining us in our live chat room. We are live worldwide across this planet in 4K. And the reason we do this on YouTube instead of, let's say, television or other platforms is so we can talk to each other and you guys can talk to one another. If you're just watching this video passively and you're not joining us in our community, well, we both lose out on that enjoyment and the friendships that flourish here. And we certainly would encourage you to join in and say hello. Everybody's welcome here so long as you're a nice person. We'd love to have you. There's room for more. Edward Bass says hello, and Katrina H. joins us. John Williams says hello. Martin Postema joining us as well. Robert McCord Bagumi says hello in the chat room. Did I mention Patrick Manny? Milan Tador. El Perez. Richard DeFries. Laura the Bear. Mike Mant saying hello. Did I say Bill Holmes? Mike Gamer. Robert Chakowski. Slavko says hello in our chat. Old Man Timer. We had a full house today. Nigel. Stephen DeToit. Right on. I love it. Thank you guys for hanging out. A-Rod Bay Area Bro with a $5 super chat says, can I create a backup and restore it like from Google Cloud or use USB instead? Yes. In the control panel of Windows, there's a feature called backup, and you can create a system image without buying any software. It's already built into Windows. You'll also need to create a rescue disk before you need one. And there are other videos here on YouTube that can walk you through that. That's all they're about, right? Just a segmented video about using Windows Backup. Or you can buy a backup tool like Acronis or Macrium. Macrium did have a free version. I don't think they have it anymore, but you can find it online. But you know, if a backup's important to you, Acronis isn't that expensive. It works out to about $3 a month. If you're not willing to pay $3 a month for your backups, then I guess your data is not really worth much to you. But it's your call, right? And so I would encourage you, since we're going to cover a lot of information today, to just search on YouTube for Windows backup software or Windows image software and look for the one that comes with Windows, and they will walk you through how to use that and how to restore it. And then that's all the video is about. They're not going to do everything we're doing here today. So hopefully that'll point you in the right direction. JV says hello, along with Remington and Tapio Kuosma. Tapio says hello from Finland. Welcome in. I have a fun, one of my favorite comedians is Finnish. His name is Ismo, I-S-M-O. Hilarious guy. The only Finnish comedian I'm aware of. Precision Boost Power says try Veeam Agent Free for Windows. Yeah, there's no shortage of backup solutions, including if you want to back up to the cloud versus USB, but the cloud services are going to cost you. Depending on the size of the backup, which in most cases will exceed any sort of free space, and the cloud can be very, very slow. So I would recommend using some kind of USB. I think we have a few videos on backing up here. I think we've covered it about 3,000 times. But if you look through our video library, some of the videos may be out of date. So I would personally just search YouTube and just pay attention to how old the videos are before you click on them. If they're more than a year old, I wouldn't watch them. I'd make sure the videos no more than a year old, just to make sure the information you're getting is going to match the screen you're seeing after updates and such. And A-Rod Bay Area Bro says, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to ask. Steven says, I don't know why Fridays just calm me down. It's the end of the week, man. You can finally breathe. I got to the end of another week. Josh Kinder Fortnite says hello. And I hope I've caught everybody here. It said hello. Michael Bellinger says hello from Michigan. Nigel says hello. Shane Perkins says hello. Squad Moral Restored says hello. These are all people in the live chat room we're talking about. Anthony SF and Viper joining us here in this chat room during today's live video, being able to talk to me and talk to everyone else. It's pretty fun. If you're not in there, you're missing out. All right, so this is a puzzle. We know the system boots. We go into the BIOS as we should. And we do see the drive. The drive didn't die. The system's only about 8 months old. This thing should run for 10 years without a problem. And the customer went poking around in things. And, listen, I'm not going to make fun of anybody for poking around with stuff. That's a good way to learn. But today, we have tools that can guide you through so you don't have to guess anymore. I mentioned on the last show that I have a pretty nice modern car that has a built-in garage door opener on the rearview mirror. And I have programmed built-in garage door openers that come with all different makes and models of car to all different makes and models of garage door openers. It's like no big deal for me, right? It makes sense to me. I help neighbors, I help family members. They can't figure it out. I do it lickety-split, it's done. But Murphy's Law says, not for your own car, Carey. So the car has a built-in garage door opener, and the garage door opener and the car refuse to communicate with each other. And you can imagine, for somebody who just does this very easily, how frustrated I was. And I don't give up easily. I spent quite a number of hours trying to figure this out. The problem that I was having is the garage door opener has a set of instructions that say, to program this to your opener with the remote, follow these steps. But the car says to program the remote in the car, follow these steps. See, the car doesn't know what kind of garage door opener you have, and the garage door opener doesn't know what kind of car you have. What are you supposed to do? Have one manual in your left hand and one manual in your right hand and bounce between them? So I just went on eBay and I bought a garage door opener and stuck it in the center console, and I just push a button and I'm done with it. But now that we have AI, I said after the show, I'm going to type in to the AI my situation, or you can just talk to it. You don't have to type it. I just bring it up on my phone. I bring up Gemini, for example. I say, I have this make and model of car, and I cannot get the built-in garage door opener to work with my garage door opener in the garage. I don't know the make and model of the garage door opener in the garage, but let me take a picture of it, which I did with the phone, and attach it and say, That's my garage door opener. The first response that Gemini gave me told me the make and model of my garage door opener just from the photo. And it gave me a list, a detailed list of how to go back and forth between the two, which is the piece I was missing. So immediately after the show, I said, I'll bet you this will take like 6 minutes and this will be running. And I haven't been able to get it to work. And I've had the car for several years. But now that we have AI, the missing piece was, what is the order of events between these two things to work with each other? And it knew it. So as soon as the show was over, I opened the garage door and I backed the car out because I'm going to have to get on the ladder to push the learn button. I already know that. And it's hot outside, so I'm sitting with the air conditioning on and I bring up the phone and I'm like ready to do this. Step one, make sure the car engine's not running. Oh, that may be why every single attempt I made never worked. This car specifically wants it in accessory mode, not in engine running mode. With a push button start car, that means you just push the button without holding down the brake pedal. And that's the same as moving the key to the first position on a typical ignition. So the accessories are on. Okay, that might have been the thing right there. Then it says, push the 2 outer buttons on the rear view mirror where there's 3 buttons to open up to 3 different garage doors. And if you want to erase that and reset anything that might be already programmed in there from a prior owner or prior attempts or whatever, just hold the outer buttons down for 20 seconds and you'll see an LED blink. So I'm looking at like, there's 3 buttons, oh, the outer buttons, oh, the ones at the edges. Okay, I hold it down 20 seconds and the light blinks exactly like Gemini told me it was going to. We're making progress. Now grab that, hold that remote that I've got in the console. And I think it says push the button you want to program and hold it down for like 6 seconds and you'll see a light start to blink slowly on the rearview mirror. Okay, now hold your remote at the button you want to use and push it down and hold it until the flashing light goes really fast. It did. It said, okay, now go in the garage and on your remote you have a yellow learn button. There's a yellow button back on the garage door opener. So I get the ladder out, because normally the car's parked under the garage door opener, so the car had to come out. I get on the ladder and it says just push the learn button momentarily. If you leave your finger on it, it's going to erase everything you've got tied to that garage door opener as if you just sold the house to somebody, you know. So I was like, oh, good to know, good to know. I tap it, it says your orange light comes on. Yep, orange light came on. It says now go back out to the car. Push the button again that you want to use the garage door. Hold it down for up to, but no more than 2 seconds. If you hold it down for 6 seconds, you could have to start this. So again, these little details are everything I was missing. So I push the button in, 1, 2, let it go. And it says you may have to repeat this up to 3 times or until you see the garage door open or close. So I push it again, 1, 2, let it go, and boom, the garage door opener starts moving. What is that easy? Then I noticed on the rearview mirror there's looks like an elevator up arrow and a down arrow. And the light on the rearview mirror, that's the down arrow, lights up and shows that the garage door opener is closing down. And I'm like, does it actually know what direction the garage door opener is in, built into the car? Or is it just assuming? So I use the handheld remote and I open the garage door opener again. You know, I open the garage door. And I'm still sitting in the car this whole time. Car's still in the accessory position this whole time. So I push the button again for the garage door and the down arrow lights up again and the garage door goes down. Well, maybe it's just the down arrow, right? So I hit the button again on the rearview mirror. Garage door goes up and the arrow's now facing up. It knows if the garage door opener is opening or closing. I understand that's not rocket science and the phone app for the garage door opener does that. But this is built into the car. I never knew what those LEDs were for. I've never seen them light up before. That's it. We're done. I go back into the garage, I put the ladder away, put the car back in the garage, and after 3 or 4 years, or however it's long that I've owned this car, it now works with the garage door opener thanks to AI. And the AI gave me the right instructions, detailed, warning me if you do this, this is going to happen. Like if you hold the button in too long, what lights to look for, whether they should blink slow or fast or blink at all, how much time you've got from when you hit the button to when it's going to give up in timeout. It gave me everything I needed, and I followed it, and it was like 6 minutes, maybe 8 minutes. I wonder if AI can help us solve today's problem. Is it getting that good? And if so, what am I going to do for the rest of my career? So as I predicted, yeah, Tapio says, is it the Lexus? It's the Lexus, yeah. Well, the Lexus is more or less a garage queen. It just kind of sits there. But that was the car, the Lexus, that I was having the trouble with. The other car I could program just fine. So anyway, where was I? Getting back to this problem, I think the first step we need to do is let's just update the BIOS, right? I think we can agree we're going to do that anyway. Why not get it out of the way now and see if it is in any way related to this boot issue? So I'm going to come over here, back over to HDMI 3. Actually, let's do this. Let me put camera 1 back down in the corner here. And I'm going to grab my flash drive and I'm going to plug it in back here, any USB port. I was looking at a plant in the backyard and I couldn't remember what it was. I took a picture and I asked AI, I asked Gemini, what is this plant? And it said, oh, it looks like it's this. Like, oh yeah, I remember that now. I remember. That's correct. Just based on pictures. So even if you don't know how to explain or what you're looking at, you can take a picture of it and just attach it to your question. If you were looking at a strange building downtown or somewhere, and you didn't know what building that was, take a picture of it and ask the AI, what building is this? What business is in there? It'll tell you instantly. We have to learn, if we want to stop working so damn hard, to utilize the tools and not be resistant against these tools. The tools can be used for evil, just like any other tool. That doesn't make the tool evil, that makes the user evil. That tool is there to help you. If you voluntarily choose to use it, your life gets so much easier. And the more you use it, the more you'll get better at it. And all these little issues that you deal with in life, from anything you want to fix or anything you want to know what it is, any question you have, it pretty much can answer it. And if it doesn't give you the correct answer, tell it it's not the correct answer. Just like talking to a person versus talking to a Google search. And it may ask you some follow-up questions to help it understand where the miscommunication is. It is incredibly useful. Now, if you still want to do things the old-fashioned way, nobody's stopping you. With the flash drive plugged in, okay, I'm going to get rid of camera 1 now, and we're going to go over here to, let's see, it should be Tool, and then Instant Flash. And no, we don't have BitLocker on. And it sees the file already on the flash drive, so I just hit Update. Are you sure? Yes. After pressing enter, the system's going to automatically reboot and start flashing. That's fine. So here we go. Bill Holmes says, Carey, I was betting you'd fix that garage door opener in minutes, thanks to Gemini. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was betting that was going to be the case too, and that's where the disconnect was. The garage door opener instructions are very specific, and the car's garage door opener function is very specific. There is no universal instruction set that exists between the garage door opener and the car. But I've never had that difficulty before with any other garage door opener. But it's a pretty advanced car, and to be honest, it's a pretty advanced garage door opener. And as such, it's a little bit more complex to program than what I'm accustomed to. I don't need to be accustomed to it anymore. All I need to be accustomed to is how to use Gemini now. I don't have to carry this information in my brain and try to remember it anymore. Now, you might say that's good, you might say that's bad. Kind of making us dumber. It's making us dependent on the technology. Well, that ship sailed back with the calculator, or back with the automobile. You know, we don't necessarily have to take horses and carriages anywhere, or the airplane. You don't sit on a boat for 3 weeks to go to France like Benjamin Franklin did over and over and over again. You want to go to France, you get on a plane, you're there today. Almost from anywhere in the world, pretty much. You're there today. This is more of the same. And it's not going away. We will go away. We will age out. And when we're done with this life, that technology will continue. So to push back against it is like pushing back against a wave in the ocean. You ain't moving it. It's going to move you. So you can clear out of the way, or you can grab a surfboard and enjoy the waves. That attitude and choice is entirely up to you. It's pretty exciting. Now, AI agents that act on your behalf, that I don't trust yet. It needs more time. And AI is only getting better. So, as good as it is today, if we start asking the same questions a year from today, we'll get even more accurate answers. It's only getting better. The AI hallucinations that used to occur all the time very rarely happen now. They still do happen, but not near the frequency that they used to. And AI still gets things wrong, but the difference is now, when you tell the AI it's wrong, it's often because of a misunderstanding, the words you chose or the way you described it, and the AI misunderstood you in most cases. And that's where the AI may ask you a follow-up question or two. Then when you answer it, then it gives you the right answer. So is that the AI's fault that they can't read your mind? That you phrased something poorly, or you weren't very descriptive? There may be a point where the AI will know what you mean much more accurately than it does today, I'm sure. But it's pretty damn good today. Anything you can possibly imagine that you want to know, anything about a piece of furniture, a recipe, who's the actor in that show, when does this new season of my show come out, what color is this paint so I can match it because I got to paint my walls, how do I fix this leaky faucet, can you show me a video, I'm arguing with somebody that won't listen, what's a good thing that I could say to them to get through to them, you know, what should I do next if they're not listening to me and they're a family member and I don't just want to abandon them. And the AI will tell you psychologically how you should approach this and give you some examples of things you might try to say to help smooth things. There's nothing in the world that you can't think of that AI can't at least assist you with. Now, right now the screen is it was black, and now we're posting with the new BIOS update right now, which, you know, may still be going on. I'm not sure, but there's nothing wrong with the video. We're doing this live and in real time, and you can see up here it says 9.02. So we've got the latest version. I'm going to go over to advanced mode, and I'm going to say, you know, load defaults, which we already did over the phone. You know, that's one of the first things. Just go here over to exit, and it says load UEFI defaults. Yeah, that's what we want. That's always a good practice to do after a BIOS update anyway. And you notice the boot override, it only shows one bootable device, and that's the flash drive with the BIOS on it. Let's save changes and exit and see if this changes any behavior. It looks like DDR frequency shifted to auto and secure boot mode went to standard. Okay, let's see what happens. Martin Hogg with a £4.99 super chat says, "Hey Carey, long time no see." Thank you. Thank you, Martin. Good to see you, my friend. And let's see what happens if we go back into the BIOS, or will it try and boot off of the internal NVMe drive? I got a feeling it's just going to take us back in the BIOS. I don't think this is going to help with the problem we're having. I think that BIOS fixes other problems, but it is taking a while to reset for some reason, and we're going to sit here and wait, be patient, and give it a chance. Here we go. And back in the BIOS again. Okay, so let me get back over to camera one. Let's go full screen over here. I'm done with this flash drive. So the question now is, did the customer somehow erase his partitions or his boot sectors when he tried to boot from the rescue disk? I cannot emphasize this enough. This is nothing you should be doing at home if you want to test a backup that's in the backup software to validate the backup. No matter what software you're using, there's always a validation test. That's all you need to do. And if you say, well, but what if I want to do a fire drill and I want to pretend like I have a computer problem? I want you to think this through. If the reason you made a backup is in case something happens, that's usually why we make a backup. So you want to test the backup and pretend like something happened and see if your backup works. What's your plan if your backup doesn't work and you just hosed up a perfectly good working computer? You created the very problem you were trying to avoid, when if you would have just left it alone, you would have been just fine. Now, this is all part of a learning experience, okay? This is how not to do this. We have processes in business that we use for this very reason, and a lot of home users just can't or won't wrap their mind around the processes. They go, well, I don't need to do that, I'm just a home user. Okay. If you would have done it the way businesses do it, the way I recommend it, this wouldn't be sitting on the bench right now. I'm happy to do the work. This does not upset me. But this was completely avoidable if the approach was following standard practices. That's all I'm trying to say. And if you don't want to follow standard practices, expect your computer on the bench. That's it. Because if you're not sure what you're doing, so you want to test it, when everything's working fine and you're just bored, I guess, or you're like, I'm curious, there's nothing wrong with learning, but that's not the way to learn. You're not working. It's like, I want to learn how to shoot at people with live ammunition. No, you can use a paintball gun or something. You don't use live ammunition because somebody's going to get hurt or killed. It's very, very foolish. That's something only, that's a decision, a very bad decision from a gun owner. Unless you're in the military, if you're firing with live ammunition, there won't be anybody in the firing range or anywhere close to it. So if we're emulating close quarters combat, you will not be doing that with live ammunition. There's reasons for these policies. It's not to be mean. You know what I mean? It's to keep everyone safe and make sure that when mistakes happen, we can learn from them without injury. That's all. That's all they're there for. They're not there to say you're stupid. They're not there to say you're not trustworthy. Everybody makes mistakes. So, you know, even professional trapeze artists, the amazing Walindas, sometimes fall. And if there's no safety net, end their careers. So even those of us that are doing this every day, always put the safety net down. Always, always, always. And in this case, the backup was the safety net in case something happened. And the way we would have tested the backup was we would have chosen the validation option in any backup software you're using. It's there. If the validation says the backup's good, good. You say, well, I want to run a dry run through to see how to use it. Don't recommend it because this could happen. As long as you know the backup's good, don't worry about how to use it. People go, why not? Well, somebody like me can help you get the rescue disk and boot to it. You're likely not going to remember it anyway. Something you only do once. You're going to play the piano one time and now you know how to play the piano? No, it doesn't work like that. You have to do it over and over and over and over and over again. If you made a backup, somebody like me, in my line of work, no matter how you made the backup, as long as it's a valid backup, we can always help you restore that. But if you don't have a backup, there's not much people like me can do to help you if you're trying to get your data back. Then you're going off to forensic data recovery, which is very, very expensive. So we have these processes in place for all of these reasons. Do we want to send the drive off for data recovery? No. Do we want to reinstall Windows from scratch? No. It's so much easier and so much better to just have a current backup. So if you do the backup every month, every 3 months, it's up to you to decide how often you want to make the backup. You just ask yourself, if I had to restore my backup today, since I put all this other stuff on the computer, since I made that backup, would I be upset that I lost stuff? Because my backup is so old. It's missing all the new stuff I've done. When you ask yourself that question, if your answer is yes, I would be upset, it's time for you to update your backup or just make another new one. It's up to you. Overwrite the old one, just make another one. Whatever you want to do. And the frequency that you should do that is based on how you answer that question. It's different for everybody. But that being said, the question we have right now, what's on my mind is there anything on the drive at all? Has the drive been completely erased? And one way I can tell that is if I take the drive out, put it in an enclosure and plug it into another drive, and like it's a USB drive. Put it in a USB enclosure and see if there's anything on it. The other thing I can do is I can take the drive out, replace it with a temporary drive, because I'm a shop, I've got lots of spare drives, you may not. Take the customer's drive out so I don't modify it in any way. Reload Windows really quickly, I don't have to worry about the drivers, just throw Windows back on the temporary drive, make sure it works. And then put the customer's drive either in another slot on the motherboard, if there's one available, or into a USB enclosure, and see if I can see data on the drive that way. If you guys have any suggestions on what I should do next, I'd like to read them now before I begin, because you might have some better ideas, and I won't know if I don't ask. Anon says, will AI be one of the tools banned when taking examinations? That depends who is performing the examination. There's no laws about it, so it's just going to vary depending on whose rules you have to follow. So probably, I would guess, but David in the chat saying hello. Adam Grossman joins us and says hello. I also see Computerlen. Computerlen says hello. Says I followed step-by-step procedures from Carey's channel when I built my computers. The first one I made was in 2014 and I gave it to my daughter and it's still working today. Bio says, what happened to the computer case? The owner has written on it and put tape on it, put stickers on it. It's his to do with whatever he wants. It did not arrive with any damage in shipping, so he packed it well. And then when we're done, we'll put it right back in the same packing, in the same box. We'll pull the shipping labels off of it and just replace the shipping label. He's got writing all over the inside of it and across the top of it. And I think it's just a way he keeps himself reminded of things. As we get older, it gets more challenging for all of us to remember things, and less important for things to look pretty So if it means taking a little marker out and writing on it, and it might look a little terrible, but at least now you have a reminder. It's a way of coping with having a difficult time remembering things as we get older. That might be why he's doing it. I mean, I don't know, and I don't care. It's none of my business. Tom UL says, what is the worst part of doing PC support? Well, for me, personally, and it's going to vary depending on who you ask, I was helping a gentleman who wanted a laptop. And I deal, for whatever reason, many of my home-based customers today are elderly. They're people that are in their 80s. And they're not only in their 80s, but they're having, like anybody else, health issues, right? Whatever that is, it's different for everybody. And it could be memory, it could be shaky hands, it could be so many different things. It could be battling a disease, typically age-related. And they're not brought up with computers. You know, these were people that were born 80 years ago. So we're talking about the 1940s. And it's amazing and admiring and noble to see them still using computers and sort of being digital immigrants and just loving it, right? But the older we get, the more difficult everyday tasks, from putting on your shoes, things you used to do when you were younger you didn't think anything about. As our bodies age and our organs age, we start having all kinds of problems. That's pretty typical. And so when I'm talking with somebody who's a digital immigrant, somebody who was probably in their 30s or 40s before they had their first computer, if they were an early adopter, it's a whole new way of thinking. It's changing from analog thinking to digital thinking. In fact, my generation, born in the 60s, we're very lucky that the first 20 years of our lives was analog. So we have this nice balance where we weren't so set in our ways of the world before the digital effect took place. And really that started in the 90s, where we started seeing like CDs. That was crazy, going from vinyl and cassette tapes. The idea that, it's read by lasers, it's very Star Wars. But we were so young, we thought it was cool. We weren't like, oh no, I don't know how to use this, it's over my head. Well, there's always some of us, the majority of my generation loved it. So we saw black and white TV, color TV, HD TV, DLP, projection televisions, LCD screens, QLED, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At some point, though, my generation will reach an age, whatever the 20-year-olds are doing will be like magical, right? So I'd say the frustrating part is if somebody is asking for help over the phone and they don't live locally, so I can't just get in the car. They have to explain to me what they're seeing. And sometimes they don't know how to explain it. Now, usually I say, well, just take a picture of it with your phone, because they all have phones, by the way. Every one of them has a phone. And they said, just take a picture with your phone of your screen and then just send me a text message. Sometimes they're like, I don't know how to text. I've never done it. Okay, well now do we stop trying to fix the computer and now start training them how to use their phone? And at that point, you either have to be very, very patient and spend 2 hours on the phone to do something that would take less than 10 minutes if I was in front of it, without getting upset and frustrated. It's nobody's fault. It's not their fault. It's not fair to get mad at them because, God, this is so simple. All you have to do is click this thing, and they're like, I don't see that thing, and it's there. Can you send me a picture? I don't know how to send a picture. Oh my gosh. Oh, I really want to help you, but this is so hard. Is there somebody else, a family member, grandchild, that could come in and you can hand the phone over to? And I don't want to be insulting. I don't want to make anybody feel bad. None of us were born with this knowledge. Other than that, everything's gotten easier. Nowadays, I don't have to get in the car and go places. I just get remote access. But sometimes people don't even understand how I can get remote access. I need them to open a browser. What's a browser? Go to helpmecarry.com. It's not working. Find out they put spaces in it. They spelled it wrong. They're putting it in a Google search instead of in the URL. All I need is the remote access. It's so easy. Then they download it and they don't know what to do next. And I'm like, you just click on it. Click on what? Well, the thing you just downloaded. Well, where is it? That is the worst part for me, because it's so easy. For me, because I'm so familiar. I've been doing this every single day since I was 12 with my Atari 400 computer. I take that back. It was a TRS-80 Model 1 computer I had in 1980. I would have been 12 years old. I've been typing since I was 12 years old. I've been working with whatever the computer of the year was, TRS-80, and the color computer, the Atari, the Commodore, the Atari ST, the Amiga, the Commodore PET, Commodore 64, Timex Sinclair, TI-99. It just goes on and on. So for me, it's very simple, right? From that perspective. For somebody else, they're trying their best. Now, once we're able to get the remote support working, and we do eventually get there, I can see their screen and take control of their mouse, and then boom, things start happening fast. Click, 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 click. You say, what do you do? You know, why did you do that? I say, hold on, don't distract me, please. Now that I'm in here, let me just run through a bunch of things, because we both know you aren't going to remember the explanation unless you do it every day. And this isn't something you need to do every day. It's just like, we need to set this up. We need to get it going and get it fixed for you. Now, if the problem happens again and you need to call me, I'll be more familiar with it. And I will show you what I'm doing to fix it, since now it looks like if we teach you, you can help yourself next time. But if this has never happened before and asking all the reasons why, there's less likely you're ever going to remember what I tell you, and even less likely you're ever going to need it again. That knowledge won't benefit you unless the problem happens again. So the problem needs to happen twice before I start explaining things. And I will do that so they can help themselves and be self-reliant and fix it themselves, or at least make the attempt before they call me when it happens the third time. It normally doesn't get that far. In most cases, it's just a one-time thing. Like this problem here, we'll probably never see this again. This customer wanting his Windows license key is something he learned 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And he keeps asking for it. He keeps forgetting I've answered him. And that's the part that's a little frustrating. Why are you asking for it? In case I need it. Have you ever needed it? Yeah, I've needed it in the past. When? 1997. Okay, it doesn't work like this anymore. So just call me. Don't worry about it. Just call me. And it's almost like what they're hearing when I say that. Sometimes the reaction is like, you're treating me like a child, like I'm not responsible. I think I can hold on to my own product. That's not the point. You never need it again. That's all gone now. It's done. You can never use that product key again. It doesn't matter if I give it to you. You can't use it. It's already been used. Use once and dispose. We're done with it. Sometimes that communication is misunderstood as like, you don't trust me or you don't think I understand. It's like, well, you're not understanding, but the thing you're not understanding is the wrong thing. So that is a little bit frustrating, and it's just something I have to deal with and find a way to process it in a way that's not, where I sort of have to bite my tongue, take a deep breath, slow down, let there be silence, let them think about what I've said, and try and focus on what's the phone call about. has nothing to do with your product key, right? Right. Okay, so let's try and stay on what we're doing. Oh, but I also wanted to ask about this. Okay, please, I beg of you, let's focus on the reason for your call. Once we get that resolved, then your next question, and then I'll answer it. And once you have that question answered, then ask the next one. But I'm in the midst of trying to help you with a problem, and you're just sitting there watching me, and your mind is wandering, going, oh yeah, and I can't print. Hold on. Wait a minute. I am more than happy to help you, but I cannot do it that way. It's like I'm sitting here counting 1,132, 1,133, and you're over there going 14, 18, 12, and I'm like, shoot. 1, 2, I have to start all over again. And I'll just try and politely say, please, I'm really trying to focus on this. I'm trying to think. If we can just, I will answer your question, but first, please let me just do this. I just need a minute where I'm not distracted, and I need to focus. And they're always understanding. Oh yeah, sorry. That would be the hardest part of this job. The doing the work is easy. Finding the work is actually harder. So you have to find the work. That's the most difficult part of this job. Letting people know you exist and what you can do for them. Earning their trust. Letting them give you a chance to prove yourself worthy. That's number one. Number two would be doing the work. And number three, the toughest part of all of it is when you're working blindly and you're only working over the phone with somebody who can't really describe anything that they're seeing accurately well enough and doesn't have anybody there to help them. And they're too far away to go on site. And I don't want to abandon them. I just have to find another way. And you're going to be on the phone a while. I was on the phone with one gentleman earlier this week. We started about 7:30, which was 10:30 his time, and we ended at 3 o'clock in the morning his time, which was midnight for me. So that was 5 hours on the phone. What else are you going to do? And he paid me, and everything's fine, and he's happy. We got it all done in one call. Because after about 2.5 hours, I was kind of burned out, and I was like, maybe we should pick this up tomorrow. Aren't you feeling tired? He's like, no, I'm still fine. If you're okay. Well, I'll keep going. He goes, oh, yeah. If you're okay, I'm okay. And 5 hours later, you know, we got it done. So that's the challenging part. But that's a good question. I appreciate you asking. And it's no insult to any of these people asking for help. There's no shame in it. It's just the situation, right? And it's just how we handle it. Let's see, looking here in the chat for what your suggestions are. Pio says, first make a backup of the customer drive. I'd rather just take the customer drive out and not touch it. Let's see, I told my wife who's going on. You guys are talking about something else there. Carey, is the boot partition broken? It might be. I don't even know if there's any partitions on the drive, let alone boot partitions. So that's possible. That's why I'm saying we have to figure this out. Josh Kinder says we can boot from a Windows 11 disk and take it from there. Yeah. Frankie B says I would put in a different drive, install Windows, see if it boots, then check the original drive and see if it's got anything on it. That was what I was thinking, Frankie. Chris Dunn joins us and says hello. Gary Tatum says the only thing I can think of outside of the UEFI partition being gone is the BIOS being set to legacy boot. But I would think that UEFI would be the default. Well, that's what that compatibility support mode, or CSM, was that I mentioned earlier. As long as CSM is off, we're in UEFI mode. So we've checked that for that very reason. Bio says, for him, the more he deals with seniors, the more he's convinced an iPad is the best choice for them. Well, it depends on the senior, right? So some of these folks have investments in their 401k or in stock options, and they need to log into places like Charles Schwab, stuff like that. Charles Schwab has an application called Sink or Swim. They need to be able to download that and to check on their stocks, to be able to maybe not necessarily day trading, but keep an eye on things. And they don't want the touch screen because a lot of times their hands are very unsteady, and they really need a keyboard, and they need Windows for the software to be compatible, or maybe they're using Quicken or QuickBooks and need to pay some bills. You know, just because they're older doesn't mean they don't have serious financial investments, or, you know, even if it's not an investment, just to make sure your money's still, whatever retirement you've built up over the years, check on it. Make sure you're not getting, you know, nobody's taken anything or nothing's missing, everything. You want to monitor it from time to time, because without it, what's going to happen to you if you don't have the money that you set aside for your retirement, and now you can't pay your bills? What's going to happen to you? So for some people, though, an iPad's just fine, for sure. Nigel says, would removing and reseating the drive be a useful start? Well, no, because the BIOS sees it fine. The drive is an NVMe drive. It's locked in. It cannot loosen. It cannot come out. It is physically screwed down and then covered with a heatsink. So it is absolutely unmovable. You could drop this computer off a 10-story building and that NVMe drive is still going to be attached to that motherboard, I guarantee it. So in this case, if we're dealing with cabling, then yes, unplugging and reseating, yes. But when it's something that's physically plugged in and it's locked in, not like a heavy video card or a RAM module that can have what's called chip crawl, that doesn't happen with an NVMe drive because it's locked in, it cannot move. But if I end up taking the drive out anyway to put a different drive in, we're going to see it, right? But I've never seen one come out of a socket, never in my whole career. Could be a first time, okay? But I don't expect that. That'd be very, very difficult to explain. But we'll obviously, when we take the cover off, assuming that's what we do next, is put a different drive in it temporarily and reinstall Windows. I think, unless I have other suggestions, that may be our best way forward. Bio said he's just spent an hour on the phone with his 80-plus-year-old mother after her credit card expired. I needed to update her Apple ID. She was frustrated and mad. I kept my calm. It was challenging. Yeah. David says, the first time I got a smartphone, I didn't know how to use it. I learned. Yeah, and you know, look, because you wanted to. Some people don't want to. And if they don't want to, there's nothing more you can do, right? That's just working around that limitation. Frankie says, pull the drive, install a spare drive, install Windows, and check the original drive. There's AC's Drafting. Ron says hello. That's AC's Drafted. That's Aaron. Happy Friday, he says. Mike's Unboxing says, did the old fella fix it yet? No. No, you haven't. We're still talking about fixing it. We're talking about all the things we might do when we could have already done it and been done. But it's teaching. David says, I'm guessing it's an easy fix, so we need filler. David, I honestly don't know the problem. I sincerely have no idea, but I want to include you guys in it. I want to include your input. Normally I'd say, let the teacher teach. Take notes. Today I'm saying, you teach me. Let me hear from you. So we're going to go a little bit slower, like it wasn't slow enough before. AC's Drafting with a $20 super chat says, here's to a great outcome. Oh, I guarantee it's going to be a great outcome. Thank you. How we're getting there, I'm not sure about, but we will absolutely get there. David Martinez says, what about checking the memory? Well, I mean, it's possible, but unlikely. Normally, when RAM were to fail for any reason, we will typically see inconsistent behavior like random blue screens, or sometimes the system doesn't start. Or maybe we check the RAM and we only have half the amount being reported in the BIOS than we actually have. We're not getting any of that. So far, everything like the motherboard, the power supply, all the fans, everything seems to be working fine. We know, and if you think about it logically, David, if the customer created this problem with the panels on, they created the problem. Or is it one hell of a coincidence? What do you think is more likely? So, well, it could be just about any component. My initial focus is on the customer's description of what led to this. That's where I would start my diagnosis, not based on just thinking of parts. There's got to be a reason I'm thinking of those parts. And those reasons, based on the customer's description of events, point me to there's nothing wrong with any of this. The customer likely did something who admittedly didn't know what he was doing and was trying to learn it. But he can't tell us what he did because he's not sure what he did because he doesn't understand it. But what he did not do is he did not open this up. So I don't think anything's wrong in here, and I don't see anything. So that's why I don't think it's RAM. So if it is RAM, we're going to find that out later, because I'm going to start with what I think it is first. So what do I think it is? I think he accidentally erased his hard drive or erased his boot sector. One of those two. That's what I believe happened. When he loaded the rescue disk, he did something. But I'm not sure the depth of it yet until we take a look at it. And I don't want to modify the drive if we can recover it. If it just needs a new boot sector or something, we can do that. If it needs a complete reinstall, we can do that too. But we want to save these options as like further down the list of things. And hopefully we don't have to go that far down. Hopefully we find the answer towards the top of the list. AC Strapping says, what's going on with the front USB ports? I don't know, but here's my guess. Because the gentleman is older, I think he's having a hard time seeing. It's quite possible that this computer sits on a floor under a desk where it's dark. And if you're already having a hard time seeing, you could need a light and a magnifying glass to find the USB ports. So I'm speculating only because I've seen customers do this for these reasons. I don't know why he did this, but if I had to guess, which I have to guess, he took a white marker or something so he could find it faster. 36 Bounce said, could the NVMe drive be corrupt? It could be. John Williams wants to know, is there more than one NVMe socket on that motherboard? Yep. Yeah, I see two. One underneath the heatsink where the drive is currently, and a secondary one. Move it to the other slot and reboot that. Well, again, that would assume any sort of hardware damage, right, with either the slot or the drive, but he never opened it up. So unless, while he's monkeying around with a rescue disk whose job it is to reset your hard drive, it seems highly unlikely that anything regarding the physical components has been damaged or altered in any way, shape, or form. This appears to be a user-invoked software configuration destruction, but what that destruction is or how he did it, he doesn't even know. But that would be, again, based on the information he provided, that's the first thing I want to focus on. And that's why. I'm explaining why. It's not like the customer was just using the computer one day and all of a sudden it didn't boot. No, he did something as something he's never done before and he doesn't know how to do, and got a problem he's never had before. So do you think those two things are related? Do you think it's just coincidence? Probably not. And that's why it's so important when we as technicians ask customers, what happened? We're not looking to make fun of you. It's no different than a doctor. Don't lie to the doctor. Tell me honestly what happened. Don't worry about being embarrassed. Let's get the problem fixed. Don't make me be Sherlock Holmes. Because, doctors quite often have to be Sherlock Holmes. Here's the difference, though. With a doctor, a human can tell you, here's what, I can talk to you. And a computer can't really talk to a computer tech. So the computer's not really giving me anything. So if I don't get it from the human, then I have to figure it all out from scratch, which I can do. It's just more difficult and it takes more time. If I can find out what happened before the problem, I can usually get to the solution faster if the customer is honest and straightforward. Even if they don't know the proper terminology, they don't have to. Tell me what you clicked on. Show me what you did. I push this, I click that. Fine, that's all I need to know. And that helps. That reduces the length of the diagnostic. It points us to a solution faster. Gets the customer back up and running faster. And because it takes less time and customer gets the computer back faster, it's cheaper because you're not paying for all the labor because you're too embarrassed to tell the doctor or to tell the tech. And now you're forcing us to have to spend more time and labor, which means it's longer before you get your computer back and it's going to cost you more. So it's your choice. So I do believe the customer has been very honest with us about this, and that's very appreciated. Jamie Spooner wants to know, did the customer send you the recovery disk? If you did, you can reinstall Windows and use the recovery disk to get the data back. The customer did send me his backup drive, but he doesn't know if he made the backup correctly. He did not send me a recovery disk, but I could make one. Like I said, as long as you have a backup, a tech can always get your data back as long as your backup was verified. So he did include, there's a little sort of a pocket right here, and he put his recovery disk and his KVM in there so I could configure them. And then he's got some foam and bubble wrap, and they just put them in here so that way when the side panel's on, they don't shift around or anything. It was a really smart idea to put those in there. So I haven't looked at the recovery drive to see if there's a backup on it. I'm assuming he made it with Macrium. I never use Macrium, so I'll have to download it. If we have to go that way, that is potentially an option, but he's not even sure he did it right. And I'm not even sure we need it. Mike's Unboxing wants to know, is the drive actually visible in the BIOS? It is in the BIOS, yes, but it does not show up as a bootable option in the BIOS. Mike continues, I would probably take the drive out, put it into a USB caddy, and see if another working computer can see it. Well, I would do that too, except I'm making a video and I want to share it with everybody. So I think if we use this computer to be the testing computer, then what we can do is just put another NVMe drive in there, quickly load Windows on it, put the current drive, well, we could probably just leave the current drive in there, honestly. And then once we boot into the other drive with Windows on it, see if we can see the other drive without having to go USB. We just have to be careful when we're installing Windows that we select the right drive. So I brought a drive out for that. I have a, I don't know, what is this? I just grabbed something blindly here. It looks like an Intel. He's got a Beijing 2 terabyte in there. We see it in the BIOS. And this is probably 1 terabyte. Oh, this is not an Intel drive. This is an OEM Samsung drive. It says it's Gen 4x4. Let's plug that in. So let me shut the power supply off. Never do this with the computer turned off. You want to make sure that the power supply is off. If you're not sure how to do that, just pull the power plug while you work on it. Now look, there's people on the internet. Oh, you don't have to do that. You listen to those people and you go to plug something in, you see a spark, and now everything's dead and everything needs to be replaced, I hope you can get some refund or some compensation from the moron you listen to online. Think about that before you take anybody's advice. If you follow my advice, there's no way in the world you're going to get shocked or that you're going to short circuit anything when you unplug it from the wall. I guarantee it's impossible. You could still static shock something, but even still, when working with NVMe drives, as long as you hold the parts by the edges, it's pretty much impossible. So a lot of fear mongers out there, a lot of people who think they know what they're talking about, and the more firm they are that they know what they're talking about, the less likely they actually know what they're talking about. That's been my experience online. All right, so right here we have a space for a drive, right? I don't know how well you can see this. Right here. And for some reason the screw isn't there. But I'm going to just let that drive hang out because it's only in there temporarily. That drive will work like that. I will tell you that when I took my A+ exam back in the 90s, the part I almost didn't pass was the safety part. The test is actually pretty accurate. So we're just going to leave it in there just like that. We'll leave the customer's drive in there as long as we're careful. Again, this is just bad practice. If you take the customer's drive out, I guarantee you won't accidentally erase it. But if you're very mindful and you're paying very close attention to every detail, you'd say, well, only people who don't pay attention to detail need to do that. But it's a good, solid practice for everyone regardless because it guarantees it. Guarantees those mistakes can't be made. So let's see, I need a Windows 11 installer right here. Let's plug it into any of these USB ports back here. Goes this way. And then when I turn this on, that USB installer that you might be able to see sticking out the back now that I've plugged it in right there, that should automatically boot. We should not have to boot override anything. Let's turn this on. Oh, I have to plug it back in, don't I? Let's plug it in and turn it on. There we go. And then let's go over to this input like this. And let's see what happens here. AC's drafting with another $20 super chat. Thank you, Aaron. He says, anyone else want to see Carey drop a computer from a 10-story building for science? Just to see if the NVMe is okay? The NVMe is going to be fine. I'll save you the trouble. It's going to work. Thank you for the super chat. That's a weird screen. What does this say? UEFI to secure boot enabled. Huh, I haven't seen this happen before. Fail. Windows Boot Manager encounter to secure. Okay, so that's because we have secure boot on. Let's, whoops. I want to use the right keyboard. I don't want to end my stream. How about Control-Alt-Delete on this one instead? Whoopsie. All right, let's go into the BIOS. And delete, delete, delete. Come on now. Delete, delete. Let's just turn to F6, advanced mode, security, secure boot disabled, and then save and exit. Now when it reboots, it should be fine. I am not a fan of secure boot. Love Electric Stuff said once that sucker's unplugged, press the power button to drain any charge left in the capacitors. That's always a good practice, I agree. I did not do that because with NVMe drives, they're less sensitive than, let's say, RAM. You definitely want to do that if you're going to be changing out any RAM, because RAM can be very sensitive. However, it doesn't hurt to do it. It's always better to be safe than sorry. So, good tip. Now we're booting properly off the USB stick, right? So what I'm going to do now is you've seen me do this lots of times before. And we're going to go to Next. US, yeah. Install Windows 11, yeah. Next. So the product key, right? We never ever, under any circumstances, put a product key in. Not here. So we click I don't have a product key. So with the product key, it knows what version of Windows to put on. Without the product key, you have to tell it. Well, we already know it's Windows 11 Pro. And for this example, this isn't a permanent drive replacement. It doesn't matter if I choose Home or Pro, but I'm going to just always do it consistently the same. So we've got Pro, and then we have the license agreement. Now, notice we have a couple of disks installed. And you see disk 0 says it's 1.8 terabytes. That's the customer's drive. And we want to be in disk, well, let's see. We see disk 0 and disk 2. So disk 2 is the USB drive, and disk 0 is the customer's drive. So where's the drive I just plugged in? It's not here. Now that's either a very important clue, or I have to screw the drive down. I mean, I should be able to get away with this, but this is what happens when you cut corners. It leaves us, if things don't work as expected, and we're like, there should be 3 drives in here. Disk 0, where is disk 1? Do you notice it goes from 0 to 2 and it skips over 1? So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna come back to camera 1, and I'm gonna just shut the machine off. Just power it down. Now I don't know why that drive isn't being detected unless the socket is designed in such a way that the drive has to be screwed down. Which again, if you're doing everything the proper and correct way, the drive will be screwed down. So what I'm going to do, once again, we're going to unplug the power cable. We can drain the excess power out of it by just tapping the power button. And then we're going to go ahead and take the customer's drive out, which is behind the heatsink right here. So bear with me for a second, because you're standing in the opposite, you're opposing me, and I can't see it without you not seeing it. If I turn it so you can see it, then I can't see the computer. So bear with me for a second. So I'll just describe to you what I'm about to do. We're going to take that heatsink off. I was trying to avoid this to save time, and all it did was make it take more time than if I would have just done this right out of the gate. That's why it's always best practices for consistency that you're not rolling the dice. Sometimes the dice show up in your favor. Sometimes the dice don't. But if you always follow the same process every time, you know exactly how long this should take. Every single time. Much more consistency. But that's for you to decide, right? You make your choices and understand what you're trading with those choices. Let me get this heatsink off of here. Okay. So that drive does not have a screw holding it down. The heatsink, see, I'm not a fan of this design. On this motherboard, the heatsink holds the drive down. I always like it better when there's a screw holding the drive down and then another screw or two holding the heatsink down separately. I'm not a fan of that. So let's now move this drive over to here. And one of the things I don't like about this design is nothing's there to hold the drive. I mean, the drive does recess back against the standoff that's behind it, so the drive can't back out. It's just that when we put this heatsink back on, it's like, well, did it go on this way? Did it go on this way? And it's very hard to line up, especially when the computer's vertical. If I lay the computer flat and let gravity help me align it, that will be easier. Or, I'll tell you something else I can do, is I have to get on my feet here and see which way this needs to go. I think I've got it right. I can kind of see through those holes and hold it. But see, this is because we don't have a screw holding the drive in. So now you almost need 3 hands and gravity and the whole thing just came out. So I don't think I have much choice right now because I'm not getting the assistance of... It's just a bad design from ASRock as far as I'm concerned. We're going to lay this flat. Let me don't want to lose that. Lay this flat. Oh yeah, I just realized it says Samsung on the back. We'll put this in. It really bugs me that won't stay down. There's no clip, there's nothing. So this has to not only cool it, it has to keep it held down too. And I do believe that's going to go on like so. And there's nothing to lock it in. So it's just free to move around until we line up the holes that the screws will actually hold it in the proper place and keep the drive in the down position. So now we have to hunt around and try and find the standoff because there's no guides. And so far, I am not having any luck. It's just a bad design. But it's also not something you would be changing very often. Still, other motherboard manufacturers, in fact, even the same motherboard manufacturer, has better NVMe drive design for socket, M.2 socket design, and heatsink application. But this was a discount, sort of a lower end board. So it does require a little bit more finesse to get the parts installed. I believe I got that first standoff lined up, and I'll start the first screw. And the thermal tape wants to keep sticking to the drive and lifting it out of its socket. But nothing locks the heatsink over the standoff. So the heatsink just floats around. It's hard to know, is it straight, is it crooked, is it flat? Because there's no guides. It really should at least have a guide. When you're buying something based on price, this is a way that they can save money on the board by reducing the number of parts it has. But it also may mean that you may have this kind of a difficulty with any other board that was maybe a little bit more money, has, you know, a latch to hold the drive for you, and sometimes even the heat sinks swing open like doors. You just close it and they lock in, and there's no tools needed for any of it. But if, you know, you're like, well, geez, I'm going to put a drive in this once. Why would I need it to be easy to swap out? It's not something I normally swap out. It may be in a computer's lifetime you swap it out once. Extreme, maybe twice. Most people never. So who cares if it takes a little bit longer and a little bit more finesse? If it means I save 20 bucks, I'll save the 20 bucks. You know, just adjust your expectations accordingly. I'm not saying one way is better than the other. I have preferences, but we make it work no matter what. All right, let me grab that power cable. We've got the customer's drive here. We'll plug the power cable in, turn the power switch back on the power supply, and we'll turn this back on over here. And then we're going to go back over to this machine. Let's see the video output here. There we go. In theory, everything should work now. We should be able to install Windows 11. In theory. And we're going to right click and go full screen over here so I can see it the way you guys at home see it. Let's try this again and see if it sees that, that spare drive. Same answers as before. Disk 0, unallocated space, 500 gig drive. That's what we want. I'll hit next and install. And we're off to the races on that. And while that installs, I'll bring camera 1 back. And I'll put myself in a corner. MQ Cap said the NVMe could be the other slot is SATA only. Oh yeah, that's possible. I don't think it is, but it could have been. That would explain why it didn't show up. Good thinking. Frankie says, Carey, now we're cooking with gas, right? Rich Lab said, I would have shut it before I shut it down. Well, we were in the Windows installer. You could hit Shift F10 and open up a command prompt, go to diskpart, and list disk. And we would see the partitions just like we did, right? It already showed us those partitions. It will show up there, Grish Labs, because we saw it as an option to install a location. However, we could have also checked to see if the MBR or GPT partition were there, and if not, set it. But you're getting a little bit ahead of the class only because I don't even know what's on the partitions. All we know at this point is there are partitions on the customer's drive. We don't know the condition of the partitions. It could be a lot more than just a boot record. So you could sit there and go through all that just to end up with nothing anyway. So before I do that, I want to verify there's something there. That's the logic behind this order. But you know, everybody has their own process for their own reasons. And mine is I'm always trying to be efficient. I'm trying to not do unnecessary work or have to backtrack. I still sometimes have to backtrack and do unnecessary work. So that's why I say it's for each person to decide on their own. So fair enough, you know, you could have done it that way, but I'm just telling you why I didn't. Rolling Rambles said this little experiment already told you there's something, if not every part of Windows, missing on the original drive. Correct. And Grish Lab says, oh, he meant looking at the NVMe drive. The spare drive is what he was referring to. I gotcha. It doesn't matter if Windows installer doesn't see it. It's, to me, it's like you want to spend 10 minutes looking for a proof when I can just, in 2 minutes, move the drive. I would have this argument with people at Intel where they like to theorize things. And I'm like, do you guys realize you're spending more time thinking about, you know, going through these processes or doing these processes when all you have to do is unplug it and plug it back in? Like, you guys, the joke that I used to say is you guys will argue for 2 hours over a problem that'll take 3 minutes to test it. So let's just test it and take 3 minutes. So I'm always looking for not a shortcut, but just a smarter way to get me to an answer that's faster. So while I appreciate the suggestion, if the Windows installer didn't see the drive, and all I did is move the drive to the other NVMe slot, and the Windows installer saw the drive, what good would any of your steps have changed any of that, other than just added more work? That's my point. And it may not always be that I was right, and by moving it, we're fine. But I was this time. In another scenario, yours might be faster. So that's why it's just it's up to the tech how they want to proceed. And I appreciate the suggestion. And I'm just sharing with you the logic I was using to do the process I ended up doing, just so we could get this moving along. Frankie says, I like the fadeaway effects. Yeah, Mara was telling me she liked that too. So I appreciate the feedback. We'll keep it that way. That's not so harsh popping between screens. It's a little more gentle. And Grish Lab said, your point is valid. I am not disagreeing. Yeah, and you didn't know either, right? You're like, well, I would do this. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do this because it's faster. That's it. And that was a constant thing with me and the guys at Intel. Constantly. And I'm shaking my head at them, and they're shaking my head at me. And sometimes they were right, and sometimes I was right. So it could have gone either way. But you know, Windows is so fast. Windows 11 is so fast on install, to install, and I want to remove my network cable before it's too late. I almost forgot. Let's get rid of camera 1 again and go through the setup here. Let's go full screen. Here we go. Every time I'm saying go full screen, I'm talking about me. You guys are full screen. I'm the one who's not. The reason I'm not is so I can read the chat room. Right now, I don't see any chat room. It's connected to a network. I click I don't have internet right here. By the way, this is the first time using my new Windows 11 media installer. Remember, we made that. When did we make that? Last week? Last Thursday? Friday? Anyway, remember I said I'm not going to test it because I've done this so many times. I know it's going to work. Well, consider this our first test. Who's going to use this device? All right, let me grab my keyboard. User. Enter. Enter. I guess none of this really matters, but I'm just going to keep doing everything the same way I always do it. I don't want to introduce new unfamiliar problems because I didn't follow my processes. Okay, here we go. Finishing up the install. Back down here. Mike's Unboxing says, yeah, that's the one. I don't know what he's talking about. Oh, I missed what he said before that. Is it anything to do with the new size requirement for the EFI system partition? No, this has to do with him trying to make a backup with Macrium and then booting from a Macrium rescue disk. He's never used Macrium. I've never used Macrium other than when our friend Doug Betts was here and he showed it to me. I don't like it. I don't think it's easy to use. I think Acronis is better. I think that's pretty obvious. For some reason, this customer did not take my advice, used a product I'm not familiar with, and I think as a result caused his system that he accidentally erased or did something to his drive using the Macrium Reflect Rescue. But I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know. And because it's Macrium, if he has a backup that we're going to restore from Macrium, I have to learn how to do that. I've never done it before, other than with the help of Doug Betts. But, you know, we've got Gemini, and I'm sure it'll walk us through it. I'm not worried about it. All right, we're at the desktop. And what I'm going to do, I'll go ahead and plug the internet back into it. Now, in theory, we don't need to go to Windows Update, but I'm going to do that anyway, just because it's me. Okay. And start. I was on start. Go to settings. And we'll go to Windows Update. Check for updates. Now, I don't need to do everything, right? The reason I'm doing this, one, is I want to verify with this latest media installer should have all the updates already built into it. So the only thing that should be available would be any drivers or any antivirus updates. That's it. While we're waiting for that, I'm buying myself time because I can put away my Windows 11 USB installer. We're done with it. And I can go grab a USB to NVMe drive enclosure. Now, the one I like to use, and I don't know why, I put it all the way to the other side of the room. I should have it next to the desk because it seems lately I've been using this frequently. And when I start, I should say when I stop using it frequently, I get it out of my way. And then no sooner than I put it out of the way, I'm finding myself having to walk across the room to go get it. This is a Silverstone TS16. Yeah, it looks like we're getting a bunch of drivers and security updates. Perfect. So my media installer, currently up to date. So the TS16, if we come over here to, let's go to Amazon. And let's look for the Silverstone, just in case you're curious what I'm going to use, TS16. VIP-16. And let me share the screen with you, because I want you to get a good look at why this is such a critical tool and why I love it so much. And nobody else makes this. It's pretty unique. You ready? Silverstone TS-16. You notice this has no lid and no screws. It's not meant to be a permanent enclosure. It's meant for technicians to pop drives in of various sizes that are either NVMe or SATA, either one, and plug it into USB, get access to what you need, and then unplug it. So there's no thermal tape, there's no heat sink, there's no screws, there's no lids, nothing to disassemble. And it's only $30. It's one of my favorite tech tools. Now, if I wanted to have an external enclosure that I was going to use permanently, I'd want it to have a lid and a heatsink on it. But this is temporary, and I can get in and out of it very, very quickly. So let me show you. Back over here. We take the customer's drive. In fact, let's go full screen because I want you to see what I'm doing. There's nothing to watch here anyway. I got my TS-16. I always leave the cable attached. I got your USB Type-C here, USB Type-A. This is included. There's a little rubber stopper. They give you a spare one in case you lose it. I put it in the far position because I pretty much only use this size, 80 millimeter length drives. I put it in here. And I drop it down and bend that little rubber post. Can I go to camera 2? Let's try this. Will this work? I bend this little rubber post, push it down, and it locks in. Then I'm going to plug this into any USB port on any computer that has a USB port, no matter what speed. And then there's a power button. I turn that on, it energizes the drive. And then it should be just like plugging in a USB drive. And then we should see a drive letter available if this is formatted and readable. And then when I'm done with it, I just simply bend that little rubber post back. The drive pops up, you take it out. That's the whole tool. That's everything. No pieces are missing. I love, love, love this tool. And I can't believe how cheap it is, by the way. 30 bucks. Not like it's ever going to go bad. Not likely. So let's get back over to camera 1. And let's plug it in. Hello, computer. There we go. You'll see there's a red light on that tells us it's off. Where's the... I gotta go this way. Where's my button? Push the button. Wait, where am I? Let's just turn this, Carey. All right, push the button and the light goes white. And that means we've got power through this. You don't want to unplug this with power on. It could corrupt or damage the drive. Not likely, but it could. So whenever you're done with this, hit the button, make sure the light is red before you unplug it. That's all. A lot of these drives for text don't have that ability, by the way. You have to unplug them and safely disconnect, and that's fine. I just like this. My preference, I like this better. Okay, so let's get back over here, see what's going on. So let's turn off camera 1. Still downloading and installing, and then the ASUS driver installer. So I'm not too worried about any of this right now. So I'm going to just ignore all this, minimize that, and we'll go to the yellow folder. Let's see, does it see a D drive? Yeah, it sees our drive here that we installed Windows on. This is the custom. Excuse me. This is the customer's drive, and then this is the customer's DVD drive. But that looks awfully empty. Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, do you know what this looks like to me? This looks like, well, before I say anything, I want to include you in this, okay? So you tell me what you think this looks like to you. Like, what do you think happened? If you had to guess, and you have to guess, we all have to guess, why is there some folder structure and all of the folders are basically empty? Bueller? Anyone? Bueller? Let me jump over to the chat and see what you have to say. Fish Labs said this looks like the recovery ISO was flashed to the SSD. I hadn't considered that. Roaming Ramble says it looks like the customer used magic seeds. Scott joins us in the chat room. Frankie says, Carey, the Windows key is not in the BIOS, otherwise Windows would not ask for the version of Windows. Correct. But the version of, so just so I'm clear, there's two ways Microsoft knows your key. The key could be embedded in the BIOS, or the key is registered with Microsoft servers online. So in this example, when we install Windows 11 Pro and we go to Windows Update, Microsoft recognizes the serial number of the board as being previously used with a key for Windows 11 Pro, and it reactivates it for us and assigns the key for us. It doesn't tell us, but that's already probably happened. In fact, if I go back over to this computer, let's go back here, and we go to, well, first of all, I gotta go full screen to see this. We right click and go to System, let's say. And up here, I can just type in the word activation, right? Because we never put a product key in. Go to activation and there, see if Windows is activated. The reason Windows activated is because once we hit Windows Update, Microsoft said, I recognize you. This is the product key you used before. It put the product key back in the registry and reactivated Windows all by itself. Alternately, if the key is in the BIOS, yes, it would not have asked us which version of Windows. It would have already known based on the product key in the BIOS. But either way, you only use a product key once on Windows, or at least on Windows 11. David Graham says it looks like a botched backup, looks like a recovery attempt was made. See, now that's what I was thinking. I think he booted from the recovery and he started the recovery and then he stopped it, or it stopped for some reason. So in the recovery, it says, oh, we're going to erase your drive. The question is, did he even make a real backup to begin with, which I have not checked yet. Does he have a backup on the drive? So one thing we know is we don't have to worry about erasing the customer's data. That ship sailed, the customer erased his own data. So as far as protecting the customer drive, you don't have to worry about protecting that anymore. We know that for fact. How this happened? Yeah, he could have accidentally created the recovery disk on his actual disk, overwriting his data. Or he didn't do the backup complete. He didn't do it correctly, and then use the recovery to then restore an incomplete backup. And it may have said, okay, your recovery is complete, when he never made it the backup correct or complete and restored back an incomplete backup for whatever reason. So this is what happens when you want to learn. You have to be willing to accept the consequences of your actions. So if he would have left it alone, this wouldn't be here. There was nothing impeding, nothing was coming that he was worried about. And the reason we make backups is because you never know when it's going to happen. But this is not how I would have done it. If he would have called me, or if he would have emailed me, if he would have opened Google, if he would have opened YouTube and said, what's the best way to make a Windows backup? He did not have to do all of this the way he did it, as if he's the first person on earth having to figure it out. Lots of people before you have figured it out and documented it online. So whether he wanted to use Macrium or Clonezilla or Acronis or Iomi or to do, there's so many backup options out there, including the one built into Windows 11, which is what I would have told him to use. When I refer to the backup in Windows 11, all I would tell you to do is come down to your start button here. We get this over here. Click here and type in control panel, hit enter, and choose this category view to a large icon view. And what does this say right here? That's it. You don't need Acronis, you don't need Macrium, you don't need any third party if you don't want to. Those software backup solutions offer more control and granular, detailed information if you're that kind of person. But if you're just an average Joe, just click on the one built into Windows. It's been here since Windows 7. This tool that many of you have never seen before came out in Windows 7. Do you remember when Windows 7 came out? Does anybody remember? I don't even remember. When did Windows 7 get released? July 22nd, 2009. That means that that backup tool that I just showed you has been there for 17 years. If that backup program was a child, it would be graduating high school. So, you know, to still have to introduce people to this product that's always been there, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, it's always been there. And people still go to Macrium, they go to Acronis. And it's like, you didn't have to do that. You could have just used what's built in, and that probably would be easier to use if you're not a tech savvy user. Like if you're just somebody who's not very tech savvy, it's very simple to use that. And it's free. You already have it. There's nothing to install. And there's lots of videos on YouTube that can show you how to use it. 17 years worth of videos showing you how to use that. People don't know. They just don't know. And so sometimes when we don't know, we overcomplicate our lives. So that's part of the learning process. And well, I'm sure we all do it. I do it. So with regards to this installation, oops, because this is a temporary drive, I don't care about it. We don't have to finish the updates or anything. I am curious if the update's finished. They did. I'm going to restart it. So stupid. I've just taken the drive out and I'm going to erase the drive. I'm going to run a disk cleanup on it, and then it'll go back up on the shelf as a clean drive. But in the meantime, what do you suppose we do next? Let me get back over to the chat room. Frankie B said he saved the Macrium Reflex image to the original. Well, not the image. You can't. Macrium won't let you save the image of the drive to the drive you're imaging. That's a logic problem. It won't work. He could have made it a rescue disk, but it didn't boot. So what it looks like is he backed up something to his drive, which I have right here. He sent me his drive. Okay. And I have a cable. I said, don't include any cables. I've got the cable myself. And the cable I just pulled out is USB-C. He does have USB-C on here. And when Windows restarts, we'll plug this in and we'll see if we have a TIB file, which would be a true image backup from Acronis. Macrium, I think, is an MIM, Macrium image file. Or could it be a Windows backup file? Could it be empty? I don't know. I have not plugged this in yet. Martin Hogg said, is it possible the original drive port connection design flaw? It's not a port connection design flaw at all. There's nothing poor about that connection. It's an installation difficulty. You cannot install the drive if it's not plugged in. And the problem is you're misunderstanding what I was trying to convey. The drive has to be plugged in for the heatsink to go on, but without any guides, as you move the heatsink around, you will dislodge the NVMe drive, and then the heatsink won't go on. Then you have to put the drive back in again and repeat until it goes in. When the heatsink goes on, the drive is seated. You cannot put the heatsink on with the drive not seated. It doesn't work any other way, and is therefore not a connection issue, never was a connection issue, and it can never be a connection issue because that design prevents that from happening. It's just that it's frustrating to get it installed without any guides. That's all. That's the only thing that's wrong with that design, is guiding it, nothing else. Okay, so while I've been talking and just letting this reboot, I figure why not? We'll go ahead and, since we have Windows loaded, let's take a look at what's on this thing here. So let me come back over to this computer. And you know what I can do is, let me go back to camera one for a second. I'll just show you. I don't want to confuse things, so I'm gonna hit the button so that light goes red. That's turning off power. Give it a second, and then I can unplug this. Now I'm not worried about corrupting the data on it, obviously, but I don't want to shock it or any way that could damage the controller on the drive. So for right now, I think we're pretty well done with that tool. We'll take this drive, and he has one USB-C port back here. If this doesn't work, I'll have to go get another USB cable, but this was the first one I grabbed out of my box. And there's no reason that shouldn't work. We'll plug that in. I see the light flashing. I'm just going to let it hang here. And let's go back over to this computer and let's see what is on this drive. Let me change my resolution so I can read this a little bit better. Display settings. 1920 by 1080 is what I want. Keep that. 125. Okay. And I'll just tell this, no, I don't care about that. All right, let's go to the yellow Windows Explorer over to this PC. And we've got a disk here that says recovery. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It says there's 30.1 gigs free out of a total of 31.9. That is not good. It looks like he tried to make this the recovery disk. This looks like he made the rescue disk on the drive instead of like on a flash drive. Oh boy. This looks like an image. Image of his BIOS. Why? Why did he? I'm gonna guess it's that's a mistake. He somehow maybe hit this camera button. Sometimes there's a camera button to take a picture of the BIOS. I don't see it, but I don't think he did this on purpose. There is no backup on here. You can just tell from the file size it doesn't exist. It's just not there. A backup, Windows alone would be about 40 gigs. Why is this recovery drive so small? Is it that old? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
If he made a rescue disk out of that, that means, let's say this is a terabyte drive, it completely obliterated his ability to use the rest of the drive. So let's go to command cmd. Let's use the right keyboard, Carey. cmd disk part. This disk. Yeah, that's a terabyte drive. It says there's 899 gigs free on disk 1, right? So this is our 512 gig boot drive with Windows 11. That's disk 0. This is the customer's 1 terabyte backup drive. So what that tells us is he's got a 40 gig partition, and then the rest of the space is unallocated. We right click on the start menu and go to disk management. And you'll see here 900 gigs is unallocated. He tried making the recovery on the flash on the 1 terabyte hard drive, which big no. When you make a recovery or a rescue disk, you want to use a tiny little flash drive, like 1 gig. The recovery, I keep calling it a recovery. I should be calling it the proper name, which is rescue. Whether we're using the Windows image backup, or we're using Acronis, or we're using Macrium, whatever, you're making a very tiny boot drive. There's no sense wasting any money on a more expensive boot drive that's more capacious or larger or even faster, because you're not putting that much on it. So like I have, well, what I flash the BIOS with, this is an 8 gig drive. This is 8 times larger than we need it to be. And this is about $3 or $4. His backup drive is probably $100, and he has obliterated, 90% of the space is unavailable to him now, because he put what was intended to be on here on something big and expensive here. And yes, if you're a technical person, you could fix that, but he's not. Furthermore, this is where the backup should go. This is where the rescue goes. He doesn't know that. But now we have some idea of what happened, because he can't tell us. He doesn't know what he did. So we're trying to forensically reverse, sort of do an autopsy on this and figure it out. So here's what I can tell you now. There's nothing more I can do to help this customer recover anything off of this computer. So I'm going to cut the power. I'm going to pull the plug. This is useless. He sent it for no reason, but he didn't know. Even getting his KVM updated and configured, he'll likely never need that KVM. Something like this will probably never happen again. We'll take care of it, we'll update it and we'll include the right cables. Then what I think I'll do is I'll put it in a Ziploc bag. Because there's other things in the box that came with the KVM he will never ever use, and I don't want him confusing all this. So I'll grab a Ziploc bag, I'll put his KVM and the missing cables, I'll connect it all where it's supposed to go, wire tie the cables, put it in the Ziploc, seal it, get a Sharpie marker and write KVM and tell him to put that away in case we ever need it, but we likely will never need it. Probably never. This mistake should never happen again. Let's put everything back the way it was, which means I'm going to take my drive out, put his drive back in. We're going to reinstall Windows 11 Pro. We're going to download the updates, and it's just going to be a repeat of the end of the video back in January of the work we did. We're just going to repeat the same work. We always do the same consistent install process, the same options. We check for drivers, updates. We've got the BIOS updated, so it'll be just like a brand new computer when he gets it. And if he lost anything, he lost it. And he brought that on himself. Some lessons are more painful than other lessons. I don't know what else to say. He could have just backed up copies of his documents and things onto a flash drive that doesn't require any software. But then that's where the expression coulda, woulda, shoulda comes from. And it's part of the learning experience. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to make fun of. We've all been there. We've all done it. Just for most of us, it happened a very long time ago, and it's easy to forget how we learned. I learned a lot of lessons the hard way. I still do. But this is basic stuff. that most of us learned very early on. And some of us, we don't want to discourage the learning process. We don't want to say, we don't want to embarrass or make anybody feel bad. We don't want to discourage them from continuing to learn, but we want to encourage them to do it in a smarter way, take a different approach. And that would be, if you need to know how to do something and you don't know how to do it, you send me an email. You say, can you tell me how to do this? And I'll probably say, well, that's a really long, complicated thing, but let me send you a video I recommend you follow. And I'll go get the video link, put it in the email, and say, do what this video said. It may not be one of my videos. It could be Mike's unboxing. Follow his video. He's got a video that'll show you how to do it. Or it could be somebody else I never even heard of. How do you want to back it up? Do you want to use the Windows tool? Do you want to use Macrium? Do you want to use Acronis? Okay, you wanted to use Macrium? Let me find you a recent video showing how to use Macrium, from installing it to using it to testing it. Let me find that video for you, and then you watch that and follow it step by step. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to ask. That would have been the better approach than him going, I'm going to do this all by myself, not tell anybody, and then I find out about it after it happens. That ship sailed. It's done. And now we're just in recovery at this point. That means he's without a computer. He has to box it up. He's got to pay to ship it. Then I got to box it up. I got to pay to ship it. And then he's going to pay me for my time and all the shipping. And he doesn't mind. And I don't mind either. Most people do mind. He's got a great attitude about it. He's like, look, I don't mind. I got a spare computer I can use. I know I did it. I caused it. I don't know what I did to cause it. If you can get my backup off of it, you know, whatever, please do. And if not, you know, he accepts that. So a very pleasant gentleman and a completely avoidable experience. He let it go so far to the point where he realized there's nothing more he could do. Then he called me. And by then, well, it probably wasn't any worse. I mean, once that ship sailed, once that was done, then it was just a question of time for him to realize he's exhausted everything he could think of, to finally reach out and say, got a minute? And I'm not, again, not complaining. I don't mind. I don't mind. I just think, what a shame. What a shame. But it's nothing I haven't done myself when I was first starting. Although, to be fair, when I was first starting, there really wasn't YouTube or anything like that you could go get information. Today, the information's there. Why aren't you using it? And sometimes it's just old habits. Like me and the stupid garage door opener. Just, why don't I use Gemini? And it didn't even occur to me until I made the video with you guys, and I said, hey, you should think about things that don't work around your house that you've made workarounds for. And I was live explaining this when it occurred to me. What examples could I give? Oh, I couldn't get my garage door opener to work. I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. So I just went on eBay. I bought a $10 garage door opener, threw it in the console, and it works fine. I also have the garage door opener app on my phone. Either one of those. But damn it, the rearview mirror has it built in. And I forgot because I made a workaround for it. So I have to retrain my brain. Stop finding workarounds. Now go to Gemini or go to your whatever chatbot you like to use and get the solution. You don't even have to use Google anymore. And again, with the garage door opener, it was steps for the garage door opener are different than the steps for programming the actual controller of the car. They're unrelated to each other. What a mess. And Gemini wove those two together into one set of custom instructions that was perfect. And if I'd not made the show to try and think of an example to give you, I'd still be using. Nothing would have gotten done. And when you have those successes, it's like, oh, what else can I fix? I'm on fire now. Let's go. All right, so I'm going to plug this back in. We're going to reinstall Windows. There's nothing left to recover on this drive. There's nothing more we can do. We've done our due diligence. We've updated the BIOS. So Windows 11 goes back in. Right, power's on. Power on here. Here we go. He said you got to hit the drawer to open it. See if that's true. No, opens and closes fine. No problem. Why did it close? Because we're booting? Probably. So we're going to let that boot to the Windows 11 installer. We're going to run through that one more time. We're not going to try and do any data recovery on this customer's drive. That's not a service I offer unless it's something simple. I'm not downloading utilities and spending hours on recoveries. If the customer wanted that, we would have talked about sending it off to a data recovery service. The customer said that he wasn't going to do that, that he would just have to start over and chalk it up as a lesson learned. But he wasn't sure if that was necessary. So he was sending it to me for confirmation. Because he'll be spending about $400 to try and recover data, which just isn't going to happen unless we do that. And he's not spending the $400, I guess. It's data that's not that critical to him. He also has a second computer that I built for him, and presumably anything important he has access to on the second computer. At least that's my understanding. So all this can get wiped out. Delete the partition. Delete the partition. 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 Next. Install. All right, and here we go again. What I'm going to have to do is I will put this in here and I will do a disk clean using the disk part utility to reset this drive. And this will go back on my spare parts shelf. The customer's backup drive, I will do the exact same thing. I'm going to do a disk cleanup on it, and then I'm going to partition and format it as one big 1 terabyte drive the way it's supposed to be. I'll put his KVM in a Ziploc bag, and it'll all go back in that little hole with bubble wrap, put the cover back on, then it can go out on Monday and he should have it by Wednesday, and the job will be done. Now this could have been done on site for a fraction of the cost or time involved. He doesn't trust anybody to work on it but me, which is flattering, maybe unnecessary, and I'm happy to do the work. I strongly recommend he just find someone locally, get it done faster and cheaper. He's not interested. He doesn't care about fast or cheap. He wants me to do it. That's an honor. I am flattered. Send it my way. If you don't mind, I don't mind. And that's how we got here. Andy says he used Gemini to tell him how to fix his erratic mouse wheel. Bill Holmes said, I screwed up and lost data once. Now I have two backups of critical files, one on an external solid-state drive and one on a NAS, which is backed up off-site. Beautiful. Sometimes it takes a kind of an injury to make sure you don't make that same mistake. The more prominent the scar, the more prominent the memory. M. Harris joins us in the chat and says hello. Welcome in. And what about Mike's unboxing? Did he check out? I know it's pretty late over there. He's still hanging out with us. Mike's unboxing says you might be able to run data recovery on the USB, but you're unlikely to restore the Macrium image file. I don't even know that he made a Macrium image file. And if he did, he overwrote a piece of it, which invalidates the whole rest of it. So I think he kind of made it impossible to help him. That's my conclusion. It made it impossible for me to help him. Rich Lab says, what KVM are we talking about? He's got a nano KVM, the cube. The very first one I ever reviewed, which I still use, by the way. He's just like, hey, I know you've got a lot of new KVMs since then. Feel free to give that one away, the one I sent you, and send me the one you like now, and I'll pay you for it. There's nothing wrong with this one. I'm just going to send it back to him. He's not using it anyway, so there's no advantage for him. He doesn't use Wi-Fi, so having a Wi-Fi KVM won't help him. And he's never used the one he bought. It was new in the box, but he played with it and then didn't put everything back, so that's why we're missing cables. So he's very nice, very easy to work with. And he's just like, yeah, go ahead and give that one away to a listener and just send me the latest one that you like. Well, I like that one. It depends how we're using it. I like different models to do different tasks. For what he needs it for, which is probably never, this is great. It'll fit his purpose just fine. We could have done this remotely. If he had the nano KVM and he was able to, have all the cables, he could have plugged it in the back, and then I could have logged into his other PC on his network and logged into the KVM without configuring the KVM from his other computer with instant house call. Once I'm in it, I could have him put a flash drive in, and we could have made a Windows Media installer. Once I realized, oh, look at the condition of the drive, we could have, then started the Windows Media installer, did the Shift F10, and then a DIR of the directory and saw everything was missing. It would have been slower for me to go through that process, but then he would not have needed to ship it and everything else and all those expenses. Other than that, he would have never needed the KVM. That was the first time he would have ever needed it. And when he needed it, he didn't have it all together. So while I had it, he was still on version 2.2.5, and it's up to version 2.5.0 now. So there's been like 25 new versions of the software. So I got him updated, and there's a few little tweaks I like to give, the name of it and the login. I set all that to the normal way for the name and password, because you have to set it. You know me, I set it to nano KVM and the password nano. I do that for all my nano KVMs. I don't have to remember which one is this one and which one's that one. None of them have internet access, so it's not a security issue. So when he plugs it in, he can use the Ethernet cable off the back of the computer, because I don't need that when I'm diagnosing a problem like this. I just need, he can take the USB cable and the HDMI cable coming out of the nano KVM, unplug his monitor, plug the nano KVM instead of his monitor into the back of the computer, plug the USB into any USB port, and unplug his Ethernet cable and plug it into the nano. That's all he has to do. Now, he won't be able to see anything I'm doing because we will have unplugged his monitor, but he doesn't need to see it. I log into his second computer, and then right over his own network, I can see the nano, and I have full BIOS access. I could have updated the BIOS, reinstalled Windows, everything we're doing. I could have done that remotely, but he didn't have the missing cable. So saying what's a better one to use, like, there isn't a better one in that scenario. Any one would have worked, but you got to keep the cables. So, like I said, he sort of prevented us from helping him by not putting things back where he could find them. And that's his choice. Doesn't matter to me. And it didn't matter to him to box it up and ship it. I can't emphasize that enough, because that's the last thing I would recommend, because I think most people wouldn't want to wait and spend the money. He's very unusual in my customer base, where he's like, I don't mind spending the money. I don't mind waiting. Okay, it's so weird. I don't expect it. Bring it on, ship it. So that's again, the logic and the explanation behind the logic. Let me jump over here, see how we're doing on our install. It's waiting on me. Oh, speaking of which, I should unplug it from the network. Just did that. Don't have internet. Ooh, did that just in time. Username, user. No, let's call it, how about John? I'll leave the password blank. You know what I do here. Turn that off, turn that off, turn that off, turn that off, accept. And there we go. So at this point, I guess we can wrap up the video. You know what comes next. I'm going to plug it into the network. Once we get to the desktop, got a Windows update. I'll do the auto driver installer from ASRock. I'll install the Intel driver update assistant, get even newer drivers. Uncle Carey's Windows 11 Optimize, all the standard stuff you always see me do. Later tonight, I'll call the customer, tell them what the results are. I'll wipe out this drive, wipe out the other drive, reset them, get that one formatted, his backup one formatted, so he can just copy files to it. And if he wants me to install Macrium, or if he wants me to use the Windows image backup, and he wants me to make a rescue disk, I'll do that while I've got it, but I got to talk to him about that first, and I can put it all in a little bag, put it in the computer for him, and then he'll have a backup, which is kind of pointless in my opinion. Until he gets this configured with the way he likes it, just having an install of Windows backed up is kind of pointless. But if that's what he wants, I'm happy to do it. It's not a big deal for me. And since it can't go out till Monday at the earliest, I got plenty of time. Doing a backup and installing Macrium, if that's what he wants to do. You know, maybe that's an hour to the job or something. And you know, if he needs a USB drive, I got plenty. He can pay me $5 for it if he wants. A lot of customers are like, don't give me it, I'll pay for it. It's $5. So if he wants me to, I'm happy to accommodate any way I can. Ron Tooney says, don't forget to check out his DVD drive. Yeah, we just did. I can't find any problem with it. It just opens and closes fine. Or does it? Or does it? There it goes. He said he had to bang on the side of the computer to get it to open. I can't replicate that problem. I don't know. Maybe he didn't have the drive sitting in the disk, rather. Maybe it was sitting in crooked and it was causing the drive to jam. I don't know. If I can't replicate a problem, I can't fix a problem. It doesn't need to be fixed. It's working as it's supposed to. So there you go. FMC Repair says, I still have my Corsair 200R case from 2017. I've done 2 builds in it so far. It is a solid case. Absolutely. Jim Kinney says, what backup app would you recommend to him now? I'd recommend one I'm familiar with. I'd say get a Cronus or just use the Windows 7 backup that's in the control panel. That's it. In fact, I'm not even sure an image backup's a good idea for him. Probably something like the My Documents folder, or if he's saving things on the desktop, are the only 2 things he needs to back up. You know, he could use Fab's Auto Backup. That's probably, even that's probably overkill for what he needs. So to keep things simple and cheap, I would just use the Windows 7 Image Banker, the Windows 7 backup software. That's part of Windows 11, Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows Vista. No, I don't think it was part of Vista. Vista was before 7. Frankie B says, great video as always. Good job. Thank you, Frankie. I wish the outcome was more positive. I don't know that he had anything important on it, but I guess it doesn't matter now. If it's just data for funsies or it's data that's critical, the computer doesn't care one way or the other. It's all just data. If we can get it back, we can get it back. If we can't get it back, no matter how important it is, makes no difference. It could go to, like I said, data recoveries, but even then, you may only be able to recover a portion of it. So usually the things that people really need to back up can be just copied. He doesn't need any backup software at all. He can just copy and paste copies of his important files onto his external drive. He doesn't need to do a system image. I don't know what he was thinking. And we're going to talk about that. Because clearly, if he needs a system image, he should be talking to me for service. There's certain things that you shouldn't be doing on your own, like dentistry, surgeries, where you say, okay, I can put a Band-Aid on something, I can put antiseptic on something, but if it needs more than that, I need to see a professional and pay somebody. You've got to know where your limits are. I'm not going to do a front-end alignment on my own car. Are you out of your mind? I'm not going to spend $2,000 on a specialty alignment rack, then learn how to use it, when I can just take it to a shop and for $140. They use their tool and their skill, and I save $1,850. I don't have to put away the tool somewhere that I'm never going to use again. It costs me less money, and I don't have to spend the time to learn how to use it and hope I got it right. Just take it to the professional. Since in the entire time I have known him, he has never needed to have Windows reinstalled. I don't know why he's suddenly obsessed with this. If anything, the technology is getting better and better and better, and the likelihood of suffering that kind of a failure is getting lower and lower and lower. But recovering your data, you could need your data for any number of reasons, viruses and ransomware and accidental deletions. All that needs is a copy and paste. That's it. You don't need any software for that. So that will be our discussion. And then I'll advise him. At the end of the day, it's what he wants to do. As long as he understands the conditions and the costs and the time involved, I'm happy to do whatever he wants to do. So we're clear. John Williams says, I love seeing a Corsair case back on the Lazy Susan. Great show, and thank you. Have a nice weekend. Well, thank you, John. You have a nice weekend too, my friend. Jim Kenny says, that's a great case badge on there. Yeah, he's got a lot of stickers on here, though. He's got a G-Skill sticker up there. I'm not sure if you can see it. Right over there, the G-Skill. And then there's my sticker down there. And then there's some stickers on the side panel. I'm glad he packed it well. I'm glad it did not arrive with any damage. So, like I said, he doesn't mind waiting for the shipping and paying for the shipping. I don't mind. I don't mind one bit. All right, let me get the flash drive out of here. And let me plug my Ethernet cable in. You watch that bottom right corner. You should see that thing flashing. There it goes. And Windows updates. Here we go. And that's why I always keep my Windows 11 updater, my installer, update every month. Just overwrite the old one. Doesn't cost me anything, and it saves me so much time with Windows updates. If you like to keep a Windows 11 installer handy like I do, make sure you update it every month, or you'll be waiting for more Windows updates month after month as more updates come out. Frankie says, one last thing. The mini PC you worked on for me, it's still running great. Great job. Thank you. I love that you love it, Frankie. That's awesome. And if there's anything I can do for you or anyone else, just reach out anytime. This is our email address right here. And if you have any problems, questions, ideas for the show, please do send them. You're not bothering us. Don't think that you are. We love hearing from you guys. What I don't want is you copying and pasting articles or videos that you did not make. Copying somebody else's work, just know. If it's your work, I want to see it. If it's your video, if you wrote the article and you want to share with me the article you wrote, I would love that. If somebody else did the work, please don't share it with me. If you need help, reach out. if your friend needs help, ask them to reach out. I don't need somebody in the middle making this messy. If they can't be bothered, neither should you. If they want to reach out, they're welcome to email us too. If we can help them, we're certainly happy to do so. I want to thank everybody for joining us today in our community. Those in green that support us, those in white that are hanging out, part of the community, showing support just by being here and being friendly. We love having all of you here. A shout out to our friend Buster, as always, for his generosity. Thank you to AC's Drafting for the super chats. And let me see what else I might have missed that I probably missed. A-Rod Bay Area Bro with a $5 super chat. Martin Hogg, thank you for your super chat as well. And everybody in green, thank you for continuing your support as we are sponsored by our viewers here. We don't have a corporate sponsor, so we're free to speak our minds with no NDAs, and nothing is hidden away from you. Nothing's happening behind the curtains. This is all 100% transparent and honest. My opinions are mine and mine alone. No company tells me what I can or cannot say. I have that freedom because we don't rely on the companies to finance us. We rely on our community to finance us. And because of that, we're still here. If not for this amazing community, we would have gone the way of Tech Deals. You know, Tech Deals, great YouTube channel, went away about 3 years ago now. Why? Best I can guess, they didn't have a community like this. Because if they did, my guess is they'd still be doing this. I don't really know why, but that's what I would guess. Other YouTube channels, they make their money usually by accepting money from companies, and they don't necessarily disclose it. And then they'll tell you how great something is because they were paid to say that, or they're not paid if they say anything else. So I don't run my business that way. I have a real business with real customers, and I'm held really accountable and responsible and liable. And I want those customers to voluntarily want to come back again for more work. How do I do that? By being honest and making sure that I'm willing to stand behind every word I say, because if I'm wrong, I'm going to have to do the work for free. What YouTube content creator will compensate you for screwing up when they screwed up? None of them. Nor do I, quite honestly. But for my real customers that pay me, if I do work for you, like Frankie B, if I do the work and you've paid me, I'm going to stand behind it and do whatever I need to do, no matter what it costs me to make it right. So it's really important I get it right the first time. Because even though I'm not happy if something goes bad and I have to pay with time and labor and maybe even replacement parts because I made a bad recommendation, my customer's already pissed off at the inconvenience. Being on YouTube means you can pretty much say anything and do anything and be held not accountable for any of it. So if you follow somebody's advice that you didn't pay for and it causes you to set your house on fire, hey man, that was your decision. There's no legal recourse that you have to hold anybody responsible. But when a customer pays me money for a service, or if I pay a mechanic to work on my car and they break my car, guess who's liable for that? It ain't me. So keep that in mind when you're watching YouTube videos. They're not all the same. Consider the source of where you're getting your information from before you decide to experiment with your own equipment, because it'll only affect you and you'll be the only one who's going to be able to fix it or pay to fix it. Andy says he's looking forward to the Mini Palooza on Sunday. Yes, we are going to have the Minis Forum, brand new unit that just came out. I don't even think it's on Amazon yet. And I'm super excited. It's a brand new chip from Intel on the budget line. And yeah, thank you for reminding me. That will be on Sunday. We'll broadcast starting at 1 o'clock Phoenix time, as always. We hope you'll join us then. Super Fred said if you buy a key from Microsoft, it is transferable. Yes, I said that. But you'd have to transfer it 10 times. 10 times to break even on buying a license when you want to transfer it. So if you buy a license when you need it to transfer it, you'd have to do that 10 times to match the price you paid for the Microsoft key. So if you plan on transferring a key more than 10 times, you should buy the Microsoft key from Microsoft. If you're only going to transfer it half dozen times or less, then you've spent twice as much or more than you needed to. So to each his own. Where you see value may be different than where I see value. But I did say that, and I would encourage you to go back and listen again if you didn't hear me. Zen Carter says, hello from Canada. I hope to be here on time next time. Well, we hope you'll be here on time next time too. We'd love to have you hanging out from the beginning. That'd be great. Bikeman said, I recently restored a Macrium Reflect image after a dummy mistake I made in regards to Windows networking, but I watched a video on how to properly do a restore and it all went well. Yeah, and that's just learning. You know, like I said, none of us are born with this. You're likely going to get it wrong or misunderstand it the first time. Look at me in the garage door opener. That's fine. And then again, if we can help you, we're happy to help too. You got it figured out? Great. If you need help next time, feel free to reach out. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you to Mara, our channel administrator, for all the work she does behind the scenes. That's a ton of administrative work, from thumbnail creation, video descriptions, reaching out to companies or answering companies that reach out to us to arrange for potential product reviews. Lately, they've wanted us to review socks. No, thank you. But you get to keep the socks. Great. Mara handles all that. It separates the wheat from the chaff, if you will. And of course, once again, thank you to all of you for hanging out with me today. I hope you've enjoyed it. And thank you for the customer for letting us show this live diagnostic and explain the process of critical thinking, of just sort of eliminating, you know, going about the process in a logical way where we're dealing with a process of elimination, like, you know, Sherlock Holmes kind of a thing. You don't necessarily need to be a computer tech. You just need to have a logical mind and critical thinking skills. You don't even need that, but it helps. Nowadays, you can just open Gemini and ask it. In fact, I was thinking of doing that to see if Gemini could figure this out, but I never had an excuse to do that. It's sort of like, well, we got to figure this out first. And my plan was, if we got stuck somewhere, we'd ask Gemini, but we never got stuck. We got there. So, but don't be afraid to hit that up and use it. And again, it doesn't have to be Gemini. It could be Grok. It could be ChatGPT, DeepSeek, whatever. All right? Just doesn't hurt to ask. Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. We look forward to seeing you back here on Sunday. Remember, tomorrow is Saturday. That means our friend Doug Betts starts broadcasting at 11 a.m. Pacific time. He does a show for about 2 hours. About the time Doug's show ends, our friend Mike's Unboxing and Review starts his live show. And both of them are like this, where they interact with the audience in the chat room. So you might want to be on time for those if you want to join in the conversation. And Mike and Doug do those videos only on Saturdays. Okay, I'm the only one that does it regularly that I know. So I'll be back on Sunday then at 1 o'clock. So you have lots of content and participation of content, if you choose to, that's of the same sort of vein and genre. So check them out. We'll see you again on Sunday, and until then, bye for now.